You ready, Jeff?
I'm ready.
It's all yours.
Okay, we're going to start with actually I'm doing 3 flavors today, and for the first time we've been doing this 10, 12 years or whatever.
Oh, at least.
For the first time, I put some thought into picking my flavors. And I decided we'll do apple pie for the season. It's the fall, even in Florida. So we'll do apple pie. We'll start with that. And then we're going to go to another seasonal one coming up. We'll prepare you for the winter season and do candy cane ice cream, my all-time favorite ice cream. Not that it matters or you care. And then for the last one, we'll do a Halloween-themed ice cream, and that'll be, what did I call it?
All I know is it's all the leftover candy from Halloween.
It's all the candy. It's multiple candy ice cream. So anyway, here we are. The ice creams, the main ingredient or the essential ingredient is what's probably wrongly called in the industry ice cream mix. It's a blend of milk, cream, and skim milk, and the one we use even has a touch of vanilla in it. It comes in bladders. They're 10 quarts, 2.5 gallons each, and they usually come 2 to a box. The boxes, the price is irrelevant when you consider how much money you're going to make making ice cream and selling ice cream. Okay? We good? So this is a 24-quart machine, which is the standard in the industry. Many people start off with a 6-quart machine, the CB350, but inevitably within your first year you'll go to this one, and the reasons we'll get into later. So this one for a full batch holds 1 bladder. That's how I created all the recipes in the book. However, we're going to make a half batch because after we all eat it, it goes in the freezer and it sits there. So we'll make a half batch. Do this. Okay. So a half batch is how many quarts of mix? 5. Good man. Now when you're measuring, see everything has measurements on it? Well, if you do it the normal way, when you grab these, by the way, choke them so that they don't. And now, when you do it this way, you're going to have to bend down and watch the level. So a better way to do it is to turn it away from you, and you can still read that, and now it's easier to go right to 5 quarts.
There's 3 bladders if you needed it.
Okay? We good? All right, so we have 5 quarts. That'll be the beginning of this whole thing. Now the ingredients, these are all in the book, by the way. The ingredients for this one is what we call mix. Then we have vanilla. And thanks to my good friend Steve, we get the high price spread. And then we're going to use apple pie filling. No plug intended, but Duncan Hines makes real good apple pie filling. So we're going to use apple pie filling, some cinnamon, some golden raisins, and some graham crackers for our crust flavor. Okay? And you dump it all into your Ninja. See how it dumps? Okay, you dump it into your Ninja.
Why the Ninja, Jeff?
What?
Why the Ninja? There's other blenders out there.
You're like the Ed McMahon of this show.
Always have been.
Why the Ninja? Well, it's too late for me to show you now, but the Ninja is a unique product. every blender, when I got into this business, I had a Vitamix, the king of those machines. And I noticed that the 3 blades were in the same position as a $30 Hamilton Beach blender. They're all sitting at the bottom. And if you know, when you start something, even with a good one like the Vitamix, it creates a vortex, but it really doesn't do the job. This guy, Sam Ninja, came up with a product, and what he did was he took the center thing, and instead of having 3 blades on the bottom, he put 2 blades here, 2 blades here, and 2 blades here, razor sharp blades, so that the instant you turn it on, you're getting 6 blades mixing this stuff, and it pulverizes. Later on, when we do the other ice creams, we're going to need to pulverize, and you'll see how it does that. It's an amazing machine and relatively inexpensive. If you watch the sales, $79. I always have 2 or 3. Not that they break. I've never had one break, but I get nervous. Okay, so we're putting in this stuff here, apple pie filling. What better product to use for apple pie ice cream than apple pie filling? All right, what else do we have to put in? Some cinnamon, a tablespoon.
A little
A
more.
little more?
There you go.
Okay. The raisins will add to the machine, and the graham crackers will add to the machine, so we're pretty well ready to do this. Now, normally, I think it's a good idea to add a little mix to this so that it really makes the job easier for the machine, and it infuses the mix right away with some of that. So we'll just add a touch of this. All right. That didn't take very long, did it? All right. So now we have our ingredients ready. And I always like to count. As much as I've done this, you still get waylaid once in a while. Your mind is thinking of something else, what you're going to do tomorrow, whatever. So I count the ingredients. I have graham crackers, golden raisins, cinnamon, pie filling, vanilla, and the mix. 6 ingredients. And then I like to say, well, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm good. Okay, you get that? Okay. So we'll pour this in here, the door's closed. And this beautifully wide spout on top just makes your whole life easier. I've had experience with other machines, and the top is significantly smaller. And something as easy as that inevitably spills, or it takes a lot longer. Your arms get tired, it's heavy, especially when you're trying to do 10 quarts, which is what we normally do. Okay, what else? Let's add this. Ooh. I could have probably added a little more mix to this when we did it. Okay, let's add this. Now, I got into the habit, and he may disagree or whatever, but I turn the machine on because it's the world's greatest mixer. You know what a KitchenAid is, right? That stand mixer. That was the greatest mixer until this. This has blades going, the dasher, which is right behind Christie over there, these go at how fast?
Anywhere from 130 to 234.
234 revolutions per minute. Yes, sir.
Then why do I need a blender?
Why what?
Why do I need a blender if you can put everything inside there and mix it up?
Well, because the machine won't chop and it won't pulverize. It'll blend like this. If we put the cans of pie filling in there, it won't necessarily chop up all those apple pieces. In ice cream, in my world, the most important thing is the flavor. So I want that, the mix that we put in, the blend of milk and cream, I want that to be totally infused with flavor. And you'll notice when you taste the ice cream, I don't care about color, I don't care what the ice cream looks like, I don't care chunks in it, none of that bothers me. I care about two things in ice cream: incredible smoothness and flavor. Flavor number one. So I want the mix to be totally infused with whatever we're doing, and that enables you to do that. All right, so we'll put it on. There's a touch screen here, and it says, make ice cream or get help. Goodness knows we need the help, but we'll go for get ice cream. And now you have all the choices. This machine, and I'm not selling the machines because we're barely friends. This machine enables you to make a wide range of ice creams, custards, gelatos, frozen custard. You can do all that with this, Italian ices, and super premium ice cream, which is what we're going to make, or homemade as it's listed here. And now we'll start it up. And what you're going to hear is simply the motor. We haven't turned on the refrigeration yet, and you'll hear when that happens. But right now we're going to add this stuff to that. So pardon my back. See how good I am at this? It's because I feel bad showing you my back.
So,
Okay? Yes, sir.
I noticed though the machine has two covers, one with the hole and then the solid.
Yes, that's a lawyer's thing, if I could be candid.
Okay.
They don't want you putting things in there like your hand or gravel or stuff like that. He's going to hate me for this. I take it off on my machines because you don't need it. I mean, we're professionals, aren't we?
Yeah. I was just making sure that it's not like to control, the grade of whatever condiments you're adding in.
No, it's
Okay.
really a lawyer's thing too. It's a CYA.
Safety thing, okay.
And I'm sure I'm going to hear about this later from the boss, but now, in order to make our world a little easier, what we'll do to get it all out, you watching closely? We're going to put a little of this back in here. And then we're going to do this again so that we get every last drop. That should give us more stuff in there. Ah, pretty good. Okay, now we'll add the other stuff. We'll do it in order too. We'll add some vanilla. Normally I like to add 1 ounce of vanilla for 1 quart of mix. So how many ounces of vanilla should we add? Good crowd. So we'll add 5 ounces of this. Next up, cinnamon. We added that.
Should we have a measuring cup here?
What's that?
Should we have a measuring cup next to us?
Yeah, there's plenty of them here.
Oh, so you have a... You lose it.
Well, actually, truth be told, I do that on purpose to let you know that ice cream is both an art and a science. It's just like baking.
Yes.
My wife's an excellent baker, and she does measure everything, but she doesn't have to. She knows, and you'll know too. Okay, let's add our golden raisins. Why golden raisins? Because they're better. The darker raisins tend to get like little rocks in the ice cream. The golden raisins have a higher sugar content, and therefore they stay a little softer, a little, what's the word, malleable? Mm-hmm. Okay. So we'll add this now. How much should we add? Let's add the package. The package is 12 ounces. Can you have too many golden raisins in your apple pie ice cream? No. Graham crackers. Graham crackers. It calls for 12 ounces of graham crackers. Any questions? You have any questions?
No, but what you just did with the raisins, you can't do on any other machine because the opening is too narrow.
You can't do this either.
No.
But they're here because they know that this is the Rolls Royce. They're not here speculating.
So the machine will crush up the graham crackers on its own. You don't have to.
I'll tell you what.
Oh,
He asked, will the machine crack up the graham cracker?
yep.
Give me your hand for a minute. Let's put that, it's just an experiment. We'll see if that does it to your hand. Then we know it'll work with the graham crackers.
The lawyers are calling me now.
Is everything in there? Did we add all our stuff?
Cinnamon?
Yes? We added graham crackers, raisins, the cinnamon we put in, the pie filling, the vanilla, and the mix. We're good, right? Okay. Now we can turn on the refrigerant. When you turn this on, you'll hear the compressor go on. And that's what I wait for. I wait for the compressor to go on now, and then when I shut the machine, the compressor to go off. So listen carefully. That was quick, right? Now you know that the freezing has started. Inside the machine is a cylinder where we just dumped everything. And those blades go around and around, pressed to the outside of the cylinder, or in this case, the inside of the cylinder. And wrapped around this in the machine is refrigerating coils. And so this gets cold. It's stainless steel, but it gets cold. As it gets cold, those blades, the ice cream starts to form on the wall. The blades continuously at how fast? 234 revolutions per minute. That scrapes it off and brings it back into the middle. And then in a matter of 8 or 9 minutes, what do we have?
Ice cream.
Ice cream. But not just any ice cream. We have some kick-ass ice cream.
What would you not put in there? Like you wouldn't put candy or anything.
Question.
But what would you not put in there? Like like you put the graham crackers.
His hand, I wouldn't put his hand in it.
Right, and then you wouldn't put like hard candy in there. Or
Well, wait till you see.
Okay.
Yes, you can put, now, he'll hate me again, and I'll hear about it later. You could actually put gravel in the machine. No, I'm serious. And it won't hurt the machine. As far as food products, my philosophy has always been I want ice cream to taste like the ingredients in it and from when I was growing up. So today, when we make candy cane ice cream, what do you think we'll use? And they're hard as rocks, right? So, why did you ask?
Because I've seen products added after you.
Products what?
I've seen things added after it's run, or now you're
Good, great point. When do you put them in the Ninja first? When do you put them in the machine? Well, you think about it. It's kind of makes sense. We put them in the Ninja when our first consideration is flavor, because we want the smallest, tiniest particle of whatever we put in there to permeate the ice cream. After we get the flavor done from the pulverizing the ingredients and adding them to the cream, then we go for texture. Texture is when you would add it to the machine, because it's not going to chop it up completely. When you make Snickers bar ice cream, first you put the Snickers in there, then you hold back some and put them in here, so that people get the experience of great flavor of the ice cream, and then, ooh, what's that? Won't be his hand, it'll be a little Snickers bar. So, two things, good point. Flavor, texture.
Is there a time where you would add after you've run the ice cream and then you would add?
I don't know. Some people do.
Okay.
And you notice that when you see some people, as it's coming out, they're adding stuff to it. I don't see any need for that.
So just to add on to that, so there is no difference in product, like if you put, I don't know, chocolate versus marshmallow, where that's gonna sink to the bottom versus stay at top?
Well, that's another good point. Sometimes, when the ice cream comes out of the machine, if you've added some heavier pieces, like some Snickers pieces or Reese's pieces, if you've added M&Ms later in the batch, they tend to go to sink. If that's the ice cream I'm making, what I'll do is after it comes out and I put it into these, I keep everything in 1 gallon containers, I put the lid on. When they go in the freezer, I turn it upside down.
Let it come back around.
Yeah. And then a couple hours later, right side up and you're good.
Okay, because I've had stuff with like coffee stuff and it's always at
It's all at the bottom, right?
All at the bottom. It's like, okay.
When I make ice cream, I'm doing exactly what Jeff does, except I call it fruit flavor and fruit identity. The flavor here is all the ingredients he put in. If you were blindfolded and tasted it, you'd say, yeah, that's a particular kind of ice cream. It's pumpkin ice cream. But the identity is not there. So let's switch it over to Oreo cookie ice cream, one of my favorites. I put 1 bag of Oreo cookies into this machine. It's going to grind them up like a Cuisinart, nice chocolatey brown. And if you tasted it, you'd say, yep, that's Oreo cookie. Take the blindfold off and look at it, and you say, well, where are the pieces? You also eat with your eyes. So I want to have pieces. So while this is running, I'm over here with my bag of Oreo cookies, and I'm snapping it between my thumbs to break it into about 4 pieces. When it's ready, I'm opening the gate halfway. My flavor's already in here. It's Oreo cookie, because we just dumped the whole bag in whole. The second bag of cookies, I'm shaking in as pieces so that you see the identity that it's Oreo. I don't seem to have a problem with any sinking. Jeff and I pull the ice cream at different consistencies. He goes a little softer than I do.
That's why I may have a problem sometimes doing that. He pulls it harder. Wait, where are we going?
Yeah, that's right. And also, if you have a proper freezer, it's also not going to sink. It's not going to, because you're freezing the ice cream. In a shock freezer, it's going to freeze up faster and you're not going to have the sinking. So yeah, I do put everything in, but like Jeff said, if you wanted to make sand ice cream, you could do it. You're not going to hurt the machine. Everything goes in. This is the only machine on the market that you can do that. All the others have a very tiny, narrow opening to prevent you from putting cookies in. And the reason they do that is their beaters, or what we call dasher, aren't strong enough to handle that load of 2 or 3 bags of Oreo cookies in the machine. So we can do that because we build them stronger than anyone else.
This is the Ninja blades, and don't even touch them because you'll bleed right away. They're so sharp. 2 on the bottom, 2 in the middle, 2 on top. And that's what does everything great. Why other people haven't done that in 100 years, I don't know. But they did it. And I guess because of us, they're selling a ton of these things. I went to a flea market, and a guy had 5 of them in boxes. The boxes were all torn for whatever reason. He had 5 of them. So I bought them for $140, I think, for all 5 of them.
That's a good deal.
That was a great deal.
So if you want them, they're in the trunk of my car. I'll sell them to you. So now we're going to see how we're doing here. It's been 7.5 minutes. How long does it take? When it's done, I'll tell you.
Can you overturn it?
You can over and underdo everything in life. This is a Zen moment here.
Yes.
Everything can be done too much and too little.
You had a question back there?
For me? What is the difference? Why do you like a colder product and you like a less cold product or something?
That's a great question. I don't think we've ever addressed that.
No, it's just personal preference. It doesn't make any difference in the texture of the ice cream. It's just when people say, how long does it take to make ice cream? I say approximately 8 to 9 minutes. Jeff might say 7.5 to 9 minutes. It's
And
just
you know, when you think
preference.
about it, when you pull it, there's almost an infinite amount of time you can pull it. You can pull it at 7:36. You can pull it at 7:38. You can pull it at 8:15. All those seconds will not affect it, but it's personal preference.
What will affect it is sugar content. The higher the sugar content of the ice cream, the longer it will take to freeze. Ice cream takes roughly 8 minutes. Italian ice, which is all sugar, is 18 minutes on this particular machine. So if you're making vanilla, you might be 7.5 minutes. If you're making salted caramel with lots of butterscotch and other junk in there, you might be 9 minutes. So the 8 minutes is an approximation. It's like when my wife bakes, she sets the timer for 20 minutes, but then goes and checks the pie. It might need another 3 minutes, or it might be ready then. The timing is, it's not always going to be the same. It's going to depend on the sugar content.
Question. Can you DIY the ice cream mix?
What do you ask?
Can you DIY the ice cream mix, make your own?
You can. No need to.
You'll never make it for as inexpensively as the dairy because they're doing 10 to 30,000 gallons at a time, and you're trying to make 2.5 gallons. You're going to be buying heavy cream in little half pints at the supermarket, and they're buying a tanker truck full. So you can't make it as low price as they can.
The question is for outside the U.S.
Same thing, you can make your product as long as you can get hold of the cream.
You can buy it outside of the U.S.
Yeah.
You can buy it frozen. You can buy the powdered version of it, which is viable. Okay, we ready? We're ready. Let's take a look and see if we're ready. We're ready. As Steve says, when it cuts off like a knife, then we're ready. Now listen. Okay, compressor's off. Let's shoot it into here.
And the idea is to get it out of the machine as fast as you can, which all other machines don't do. They're very, very slow to discharge. We want this first tub to weigh the same as the second tub. If you're making tater tots in your oven and you pull out a few tater tots when they're ready and then take your time getting the rest of them out, they're going to be burned. They won't have the same weight, texture, or consistency
And
if you're
what's
taking
worse
too
than
long.
burned tater tots?
Oh, it's terrible. I just did some. We got a new oven with a built-in air fryer. I burned beautiful muffins in under 4 minutes. Just turned them into charcoal. It was great. I couldn't believe how fast it was. So we got that out very quickly. Yes.
Does the compressor turn off on its own once the ice cream is made? Or
No. You have to turn the switch off. We don't want to turn it off because it might be ready at vanilla, but what about that salted caramel with all the sugar that's going to take 10 minutes to freeze? It would be shutting off prematurely. I used to do I do trade shows, and we would be up there with other people's machines, and you'd see the salesman from another company going, like this, turning the switch back onto their machine because it had automatically shut off. It did a whole lot of thinking on its own, that machine did. It just came up with the wrong answers. So it's not exactly an art form, but it is like baking. You have parameters of where you're going to be, but you make the final decision, not the machine. Yes?
So you put in like 5 quarts of mix. Basically, you double the product.
If we want to, yes. We ran it at 100% overrun, which is maximum air content, and that's exactly what we were looking for. We can take it down to super premium, down to gelato, down to frozen custard. No other machine has that. That's my invention of 23 years ago, the infinite overrun control. Yes?
Is there a timer on the machine?
There is. I didn't want to put a timer on it, so my engineers put it on and didn't tell me. Because I want to, I'm old-fashioned. I like to have a $5 timer with a big bell. I can go out into the office and see what's going on, and that bell is portable. I can carry it with me. And if it's going to take 8 minutes, I set it for 6. Bell goes off. Oh, I got to get back to making ice cream because I tend to talk too much. And I get on the phone and I get talking, and an hour later, my ice cream machine is rock solid because I forgot about it. So, yes, there is a timer there. Question here.
Just to follow up to that, is the timer corresponds with a compressor, or is it?
With the compressor, yes. Jeff took a long time putting the ingredients in. I do it faster. You wouldn't want to have that as part of your freezing time. Yes?
So obviously when the machine is full and you first start to discharge the product, it flows really well and fast. But at the end here, how do you get all the ice cream out? You gotta go in there and like scrape it, or does it all?
No, we got it all out. The configuration of the dasher, which my grandfather invented 120 years ago, is of such a design that it pushes everything out.
Well,
There's going to be a slight coating in there on the front of the door, but you know what? You're never going to make just one batch of this ice cream. You're going to make 2, 3, 4 batches. If you're not making 2 or 3, 4 batches, it might be a flavor nobody else likes but you. So that's important.
also, you're right, you can't get it all out. So what we do is between flavors, we do what's called a rinse. You don't have to clean it, you don't have to take it apart. All we're gonna do is we're gonna add 5, 6 quarts of water in there and swap, just like we did with the blender to get all the stuff out of the, so we'll do that with water. And I'm gonna do that while he's making ice cream, because the next flavor, I don't want it to be candy cane apple pie ice cream.
Now, I don't normally do that in production because here in the class, we're going from one diverse flavor to another to another. So, yeah, we'll rinse out to make sure there's no residue of taste left in there. But in reality, you start with your vanilla ice cream, and you might make 3, 4, 5 batches of vanilla because it's your #1 selling ice cream. Then you might go to butterscotch swirl. The swirl is added outside of the machine so that you can see it. And then after butterscotch, I can do strawberry, I can do raspberry swirl, chocolate swirl, because it's outside of the machine and I haven't contaminated the machine. So I could go 3, 4, 5 hours and never rinse out the machine. If I'm going to go from chocolate to vanilla, I'll put a couple of quarts of water in the machine, slosh it around, drain it out, and now I'm ready to go to make my vanilla after having made chocolate. Yes?
In between flavors, do you ever need to sanitize or is it just rinse?
No. The question was, in between flavors, do you need to sanitize? You only need to sanitize if you open up that door and put your hands in there. Now you've contaminated it. If we were going to take an hour-and-a-half break for lunch, I can go 45 minutes to an hour without having to re-sanitize because it's so cold in there. But more than an hour, yes, I'm going to play safe and re-sanitize. But otherwise, no, you don't have to. Yes?
And what is sanitizing? Is that you're gonna take the whole thing apart and clean it?
No,
Or
you just mix
pour it?
up. See, you saw there's little signs on here, sanitized, and it says when. What we did is we used Sterashine because health departments identify it, they know it, and you put the prescribed amount of this into maybe a scoopful into water, and you just throw the water in there, and now your machine is sanitized. Otherwise, I don't have to. I could go an 8-hour shift and never have to sanitize because I'm not reaching in there. Are we ready, Christy?
We are.
Now, Christy has come up with these flavors. She has an Emery Thompson at home, which I always tell people I don't, but she does. And she
Wanna
really
take
comes
one
up
and
with
pass
some
it out?
fantastic flavors, and I think you're going to enjoy these.
All right, so we are making pumpkin spice cinnamon roll. Everybody likes pumpkin spice in time for the holidays, right? Should be in that tray back there.
What are you looking for? I don't have covers.
So, to get a cinnamon roll flavor, you can actually put in cream cheese. Everybody's had cream cheese icing, right? Cream cheese and ice cream kind of sounds odd, right? It's really good. It makes it a little more, more thick, more dense. It also gives it like that tang and that sweetness extra to it that you're looking for. So it balances the sweet with the tang, and you've got that cinnamon roll flavor. All right, where's the kit? Here it is. So I like to get everything prepped and ready. And as Steve said, I have a machine at home, so I do a lot of R&D. I play with a lot of flavors. The one thing about making ice cream, I really do believe Jeff when he says it's art. You can always add, but you can never take away. So when you're making your flavors and you are experimenting in your kitchen at work or whichever you're at, play with it. Just add a little bit of this, let it run for a bit, taste it, see what it's like, and then add whatever. But whatever you do, be sure to write it down. Wink, wink. Firm believer in writing it down so your recipes are the same and consistent every single time that you make them.
How many quarts?
3. I'm doing 3 this time. I believe, right? Is that what it says, 3 quarts?
Yes.
All right. So we have mix, cinnamon, pumpkin pie, pumpkin puree, cream cheese. Am I missing anything else? Vanilla? Is that what's on there? All right. Anybody not a pumpkin spice fan? Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I'm like, it is what it is.
Approximately how many scoops with this kit?
Depends on the size of your scoop. If a traditional scoop was 4 ounces. Now I copy Jeff, I'm doing 5 to 6 ounces because the average cost of a cone has gone from $3, $3.25, $3.50 up to $5. So now we're serving it in a dish and giving a larger portion. I like the $5 price because that means a family of 4 can go in and buy ice cream and you pay with a $20 bill. If you make it $6, now you're pulling out a 20 and 4 ones, or you're pulling out a 20 and a 10, and all of a sudden Dad starts looking at $30 to buy ice cream? No, it wasn't $30, but that's how much the bills were that you put out. So 20 seems to work very well. So that's 4 people, $5 each. You're making a tremendous profit.
So at that size scoop, that's how many?
There's 128 ounces to a gallon, so you would divide it by 5.
So I'm gonna turn it on. I'm not gonna turn on the refrigeration yet because I want to get all of this stuff added in here. As Jeff had mentioned before, it is a great mixer. I don't need to blend it with a whisk or anything like that. I'm just putting it right in the machine.
What is the shelf life on those blades?
What is the lifespan of the blades? 5 years or $1 million gross sales.
And that's ultra conservative. I had my first store for 10 years. Never.
And our blades cost what the other guys cost, and they replace them every 6 months. We are every 5 years.
And when she doesn't have like everything in there, that's not wearing them down prematurely?
No, because the dairy is a lubricant, and so everything is nice and smooth and lubricated in there. It's not wearing it at all.
And it's a lot of fun watching it go down. I bought the whipped cream cheese because it's easier, it's smoother, and got a softer texture. So we did vanilla, so what's left? The spices, right? Oh, this doesn't fit. I don't know about this. I think I'm gonna pull a Jeff.
Question.
Yes.
How do you control the air content?
How do you control the air content? With the infinite overrun control. When you touch here and it says make ice cream, you have a choice. Homemade is going to be maximum air content. I'll show you. Well, I don't think you'll be able to hear it because we got the other machine on, but that's spinning now at 234 RPMs. Let's say I want to do super premium. It's about 165, so I would push super premium. Now these numbers don't correspond to any other machine. So if you go to a Cafajani or an Electro-Freeze and say, what do you spin your machine at? It doesn't matter compared to the Emery Thompson. These are the speeds that I picked for the different products. But look at this. I'm an executive chef, so that means I know everything in the world and I have my own opinion. So instead of 165 RPM, I want 155. All I have to do is tap the arrow down. I'm going down through 179. And there's 154. So I can pick anything I want, and then you write it down on your file card for your recipe. The slower you spin it, the less air you'll have in the machine. So it's really a great invention and very simple. Yes, sir?
Is the 3D over control in all the machines or only in the 24-quart machine?
It's on everything except the smallest, the 3-quart. It's on the CB350, the 12, 24, 44 are all designed the same. You can see the dashers. The people watching can't see this, but off camera you can see the different dashers. The designs are exactly the same. The cylinders are built the same way. Everything is the same across the machines, just bigger. Whoa. Yes.
What is adding more air into it due to the texture?
It makes it a lighter product. Air is a good thing. And I think the best way I can describe it is to say it's like comparing a birthday cake to a pound cake. They're both cakes, they're both delicious, but which one would you really go back and have a second piece of? The birthday cake. It leaves you feeling light, refreshed, it was delicious. The pound cake is heavy and dense, it's delicious. When I do pints, if I had a store, I would be running maximum air on my ice cream, but I would, for my scooping ice cream, but I lower it down for my pints because I want a product that I can bring home and I'm gonna pick at it. I'm gonna have a little taste as soon as I get it home. I'm gonna have a little more tonight for dinner, 10:30 at night, a little more. So I want a more dense product. Your cost will go down, your cost will go more costly with less air. Does that make sense? Because if you're pulling less out of the machine, if instead of getting 6 to 7 quarts, you're only getting 4 to 5, it just costs you more. So if you're going to do a dense ice cream, it will cost you more to sell.
Let's talk about freeze time. So Steve had mentioned earlier about the more sugar you add, the longer the machine will take to freeze. That's just science. There's no way around it. So we added some cream cheese, not very much sugar there. Then we added some pumpkin puree, not much sugar, but it's still an added sugar. So when you add any type of natural sugar, you're going to increase your batch times. Not drastically. It could be anywhere from 30 seconds to an extra minute or so. And then I would like to touch a little bit about when you pull it and extract it and know when it's ready. So I'm kind of with Jeff on that. I like to pull mine a little bit thinner. Reason for me is when I, pack pints with the smaller machines, can't do it so much with the larger ones, containers or pints or quarts or anything like that. As I said, I have one at home that I do a lot of R&D on. When you have thicker product coming out, I have to take my cup, I would sit there and smack it down and get a lot of the air pockets out. So when you pull it just a wee bit thinner, it fills up the air pockets a lot more smoother. You're not sitting there forever packing it down constantly to make sure your entire container, cup, pint, whichever you're filling, is completely full to the top. When you work with flavors and different types and experimenting like this, I like this flavor the way it is. You might want to change it. You might want to add graham crackers for a crust flavor. You might even want to bake some pumpkin spice cinnamon rolls. Let them cool down, chop them up, and then throw them in there. You can do that as well.
You brought up a while back, you get set doing things a certain way, and I was always filling pints by taking it out of the machine and then scooping them into the pints and putting them in the freezer. It works very well. Christy comes along and says, well, you've got the infinite overrun control. Why not just slow it down to a real slow speed, like 130, 135? Now it's coming out a little slower, and so you can fill pints right at the mouth of the machine. You've got to be quick. You can't fill 3 pints and then say, okay, I'm going to go over and put them in the freezer. You want to get it all out of there. So you fill them, close it, fill it, close it, fill it, close it. And then to get the last bit out, as someone said, you just tap the speed back up to full speed to get the rest of the discharge out. But you don't need to do like another company where they sell a $3,500 additional door just to fill pints. My infinite overrun control, which nobody else has, will do it for you by just slowing down the drive. It's
Unless you
so
got
simple.
a husband at home like I do, then I'm like, pint, 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 and we swap and go back and forth.
When you get really large, then we can send you to a company called Sawville Automation, which for about $7,800 makes a tabletop filler where you put it into the hopper just right after you made it, and you just push a foot pedal, and boom, it fills a pint, put another one, fills it, put it in, fills it with just a tap of your foot.
Another point about freeze times too is your very, very first batch of the day is going to take a little bit longer than the rest of your batches. So the reason why is because your machine is warm. It hasn't made anything, so it's not cold yet. So when you go to write down your freeze times, if you've got your formula to the science to exactly the way you want it, I would do your freeze time on your second batch. Reason is that's going to be more accurate than the first one. So the more batches you do after each other, it's going to freeze a little bit faster. Not drastically once again, but maybe a minute, 2 minutes. But if you're working with plain vanilla, then you can probably work around that same, yes.
Freeze time for the same flavor, exactly the same for the different machine sizes?
They couldn't hear that.
No. So he asked, are the freeze times the same for the same flavor but for each machine? No, not really. You're looking maybe at a minute or 2 difference. For the small guy, the CB200, like at home, this is the one that I have. I do a lot of R&D. I can make vanilla ice cream in like probably 5 minutes. We come up to this one, I'm looking at maybe 6 minutes. When you get to the 24, you're looking about 7-8 minutes. That's about right. So you look about a minute extra. Anything too big, because you're adding more sugar. You have to remember that. So even though I only added 1 can of pumpkin puree in this one, I've got to add 4 cans of pumpkin puree for this one.
Yeah.
So that increases your freeze time because you're adding more sugar to it. You want to go ahead while I do cups?
One thing about when we were talking a minute ago about adding ingredients and it falling to the bottom, this is what my grandfather was using 120 years ago. Was a rock salt and ice machine. You had a dasher in here, you put the dairy product in, and you turned a crank for 40 minutes. And he did over $100,000 in gross sales in 1 year in a department store in New York City. And so he went home and invented a faster way to do it. But his original machine, and just like this one, was vertical. Now the problem with a vertical cylinder as opposed to horizontal back and forth is, yeah, while you're making the ice cream, the cookies and the nuts and the candies are falling to the bottom of the container. There's a couple of brands of batch freezers out there that are still vertical cylinders, but they have the same problem. Newton's law, whatever goes up must come down. So yeah, the ingredients fall. But in this machine, it's horizontal and it's rotating the ice cream from back to front and back to front. So you get an even mixture, which you won't get out of this vertical idea. But calling it homemade, this was the original homemade ice cream, but the process is just the same, except we've turned the cylinder sideways, but we still have a dasher in there. Instead of rock salt and ice, we have an environmentally friendly propellant called Freon, and it's doing the same product as this, only faster and in larger quantities.
Very much so. So this is called the cutoff check, as what we were talking about a little bit before. So you open and you close and you cut it off. It plopped down a little bit. You can see it melted from the earlier check. I would, if I was at home, I would pull it about right now because I would put it in my pints. But being that I'm serving it to you guys, I'm going to run it a little bit longer so it holds its firmness a little bit more. Another benefit of pulling it on the thinner side, we're not wanting soup, you know, not ice cream soup, but on the thinner side, it's easier to make a variegate. Jeff makes a beautiful variegate. There is a video on YouTube on how to do that. If you're interested, just shoot me an email and I can send you the link, and it shows him how to make a perfect variegate. Variegate is the swirls that you see, to where you can do like the chocolate swirls or strawberry swirls. So that's another benefit of pulling it thinner. Steve has another method that you can do, and that's the easy way. As you're extracting it, you have a little squeeze bottle of your syrup and you squirt it as it's coming out, and there's no need to go through the process of what Jeff does. I like Jeff's method. It's really gorgeous, and you've got that beautiful ice cream marble effect. So we've talked a little bit more, so let's check it now. I could go about another minute or two on that. Another thing too is when you think you need about 30 more seconds of freeze time, go ahead and shut your refrigeration off, because it's still going to freeze for at least another 30 more seconds because it's super, super cold in there. So that's another thing too. And you'll notice as your product is extracting, the back end of your ice cream is just a little bit more firmer because of that method. It's still freezing while you shut it off. Anybody have any questions? Yes.
Do you know how cold it is in there?
How cold? Do I know how cold it is in there? No, I do not. That's not something I have gauged. His answer was very, for those that can't hear. I believe we had like a thermometer on one of the machines one time, but don't hold me to it. It was pretty darn cold. You know, way below freezing.
We don't work on coldness of the barrel. We work on freezing time. So if you're freezing product in 8 minutes and something else takes 14 minutes, you have a very cold cylinder.
Alcohol as well can alter the fact of how cold it is of the product coming out. We're also the only other one that you can add straight booze to. I add Jack, I add Malibu, I add you name it, it's going in the machine. I'm very well known for a lot of boozy ices, boozy ice creams. Jeff has got amazing flavors of boozy ice creams as well. He's very popular in his store. I'm more of an Italian ice for boozy flavors and make some really good ones. All right, let's check it now. I think we're good, so I'm gonna shut this off, and I'm just gonna go ahead and go.
But see how fast that comes out? Again, back to the tater tots. You want to get that product out fast. If you're taking too long to get it out, you're changing the air content.
Look how nice and
Look at that
thick
beautiful
it is.
color.
Yeah.
If you are selling a boozy ice or a boozy ice cream, is there a certain liquor content to sell to the public that you have to worry about?
Yes, and you have to ask the health department what that is. It's going to be rated something like 1.4% by volume, whatever that means. So what you do is you find out from the state what that legal limit is for your business, and then you work your formulas down to just below that. That way you don't run into trouble by having too much in there. But as Christy said, we're the only machine where the alcohol can go in. Usually in this size machine, I'm putting in about a pint of rum or a pint of whiskey whatever you want to do, and it runs very well. The 24 quart, the bigger one, I'm going up to fifth to a quart. You can go too far. We have gone too far. We had someone bring in grain alcohol, 151 grain, and it would barely freeze in the freezer. At 10 below zero, it would still scoop soft. But I watched my employees, the office team, trying this ice cream, and they took a bite of it, and everyone like that, because it took your throat away, it took your breath away, because it was so overdone. If it's overdone, then no one's going to taste the ice cream. All they're tasting is alcohol, and they walk away going, well, what was the purpose of that? I do like that you use the word boozy ice cream, because we went through years of alcohol-infused ice cream, which sounded so highbrow and just not, fun. And then one of our customers called up one day and said, hey, can I make boozy ice cream? We all started laughing over the term. It's a great term, and it's a great market. I want to have a sign in the store, though, to protect me from young mothers who have, a 10-year-old in tow, or they've got a teenage boy who's 15 and he's on the basketball team, and he walks in and says, hi, can I have that boozy vanilla rum, please? Let's see your ID. Oh, it's in the car, and they run out. So you have a sign up that says you must be over 21 years of age, and it's also great because the boozy ice cream is going to cost you more. The alcohol costs more. So now you can do what would be, unforgivable in a store, having two price points. With the boozy ice cream, you will have a higher price point. If this is $5 for a portion of regular ice cream, maybe I'm 6 1/4 or somewhere around there. Jeff could probably work you better numbers of the alcohol ice creams. And then you're not going to get in trouble with everybody because you proof everybody. But it's a great little market.
A lot of people ask, how do I come up with my boozy ice formulas, flavors, whatever? Mixed drinks. If you've got a favorite at your bar, a favorite mixed drink that you make at home or at the bar or whichever, I just take that and I dissect it, and that's exactly what I put into the machine to make the product. If you want to make a pina colada Italian ice, whatever goes in a pina colada drink, it goes right into the machine. It's that easy. Or if I'm scrolling on social media and I see a flavor or a drink that I really like, I'm like, ooh. And of course, sometimes you'll have to substitute sugar for a water or juice for a water, or add more of this or add more of that because you have to scale it up. But it's a lot of fun to play with. It's a great selling point, especially if you're in a touristy area, if you got high foot traffic, if you're near like a stadium or something where a game is going on a hot day at the beach, places like that. It's like he said, it's a great markup too. Sorry.
Anybody else? Okay, Christy's going to pass it out. You're going to like this.
It's really good.
So I had a question regarding the ice cream mix. So
Yes.
It comes in powder form, it comes in liquid form. I guess if they're good versus bad, will the machine take both forms?
Oh, sure, because here's a powdered form made by Fabri in Bologna, Italy. And this product, you just dissolve it in water, or you can use milk, would be a better way. And once it's dissolved, you're ready to pour it in the machine and go. Turning a liquid into a powder only adds cost. It does not improve it, it just adds cost because you've got to put it through a machine called a spray dryer. So here in the United States, if you're based in the US, we have dairies in every major city. They milk the cow at 4 in the afternoon. They pasteurize it, homogenize it, blend it to become milk, cream, sugar, skim milk, and then they deliver it to you the next morning. This particular product started in a cow on the Pampas in Argentina and was milked there. It was then, because there are no dairy cows that I'm aware of in Italy, they have beef cattle. So this was a dairy product in Argentina. It was spray dried into a powder, sent in bulk to Bologna, where they put it up in these nice foil bags, shipped to the port of Elizabeth, New Jersey, and then shipped to you. So one mix came from a cow that is across the street and was milked this morning. The other one has more sky miles than I'll ever have. It's traveled halfway around the world to get to you. It did not get better by traveling halfway around the world. But if you're in a remote location where this is the only choice you have, it's a wonderful choice. And this particular product, Fabry, is extremely good.
One question I do like to ask after I make a flavor is there anything you would change or add to the pumpkin spice cinnamon roll? No?
I think I'd do more spice.
More spice?
Maybe little pieces.
There you go. See, there's the possibilities are endless, and you can do that with yours. And that's one of the biggest benefits of having an Emery Thompson. You know, we're made in the USA. We've been doing this for 120 years, a very long time, and you can add whatever you want. You can add more spice. You can add more pieces of whether it's, you know, an actual pumpkin pie you can push down in there. You can make a crust and just let it cool and crumble it up yourself and put it in there. Possibilities are endless. It's really good.
Nice and thick.
What are you, Dairy Queen?
Mm-hmm.
Blizzard?
Mm.
All right, I'm going to turn
Excellent.
it over to Jeff.
Okay,
All you.
all right,
Question,
sure.
other than the quantity that machine can make, how do you compare the quart size?
How do I compare them?
Yeah,
It really boils down to how much you want to work.
okay.
When you start, most people start off with the 6-quart machine, and the first 2 weeks of your store, you're fine. But then you'll find that you're making ice cream every day, because this only makes 1.5 gallons. So, and of course you're not selling that much, but once you start moving, which your store will, then you're gonna be there every day making ice cream for 4 or 5 hours. When you graduate to this, which you will, then you're making ice cream 2-3 days a week, and it's less of a burden on your time. Because don't forget, you're running a store, all those associated things. Yes, sir.
Is the premix like double pasteurized or something? Because technically every county and state has requirements that even though you buy pasteurized milk, you need to depasteurize it and kind of do it like what I've seen outside.
I don't know anything about that.
Okay.
The raw milk coming from the cow this afternoon was blended into what is ice cream: milk, cream, sugar, and skim milk. That's pasteurized. That's as far as it needs to go. It's done. If you want to make your own mix in the United States, you are correct. You're buying already pasteurized cream, pasteurized milk, powdered skim milk, and adding sugar. And the FDA says that has to be repasteurized. So you are doing double duty. The other trick to it is you need a pasteurizer. That's going to cost you $10,000 minimum. And you are going to have to keep exacting records, because the Food and Drug Administration can and will come in anytime they want and ask to see your recordings of how long it was pasteurized for at 160 degrees for 40 minutes. You have it on a round chart, and they may want to see it from July 15th, and you better be able to produce it. But your biggest problem is still going to be, where are you going to find 50 gallons of heavy cream? Because that's what you're probably going to go through in a week or 10 days. The only way it normally is sold, because it's more profitable, is in little pint containers at the supermarket. And you would go extremely broke very fast buying heavy cream. So yeah, it can be done, but when you use a dairy, it's done by professionals, people who are dairy scientists. They know what they're doing. And then you just pick. We have 2 large dairies here in Florida. There's about 2 large dairies for every city. And I get both of them in and try them both and see which one I like.
What fat content is the mix?
Here we're running 10%, which is the federal minimum. And I'm doing it for a purpose. The purpose is it's so hot here in Florida and so humid that if I go up to what I would run in New York, say 12, 14, or 16, probably 16, like Haagen-Dazs, it's going to weigh on my stomach. It's very heavy. Going out in that heat and humidity, it's going to make you sweat. It's going to make you feel very uncomfortable. And you don't say, oh, that high fat content made me feel ill. You say, oh, Steve Thompson's ice cream made me feel ill, therefore I'm not going to buy Steve Thompson's ice cream. So if you're in Minnesota, you're not going to listen to me. You shouldn't. You're not going to buy 10%. You're going to buy what the market wants in your area, in conjunction with your personal feeling. 10% is technically a very, very low ice cream. and we bolster it with additional flavor. So the whole thing is about flavor. It's not the mix, it's not the machine, it's all the ingredients. I'm going to turn it over to Jeff.
Yes, sir.
So for the higher butterfat percentage, is that when you use the super premium setting, or?
No, any of the settings will make it out of any of the percentages. And you'll get used to, where do you live?
California,
What part, northern, southern?
Sacramento.
Northern. Yeah, I always found I was fine with 10%, but I'm a Floridian. You'll try it and you'll see. Gelato, which is supposedly thick and rich and creamy, that's only 6 to 8% butterfat. That's the law. So it really isn't as dependent upon the percentage of butterfat, but more your ingredients and how you make it. But you'll see, you'll come to something. So years and years and years ago, about 15 years ago, I was on a quest to come up with ice cream flavors. And so I would periodically go into any store I could find and go up and down the aisles and see what, if it was an ethnicity, see what they eat for dessert, and then try to translate it into my ice cream. And I did that with, not dulce de leche, well, dulce de leche was also one. That was a Hispanic treat, and it turned out to be great vanilla caramel ice cream. Anyway, so one of these quests I saw, it was around the holidays and Christmas holidays, my birthday. And I saw candy canes. You know, they come 10 in a box, candy canes. And I'm a big fan of mint chocolate chip ice cream. That's what I grew up on. So I thought, candy canes, So I bought about 10 boxes, and I put them in the Ninja and made ice cream out of it. And it became my favorite ice cream. Mint chocolate chip is good. This is smooth. So that was great. I put it in the store, and it became a hit during the winter. And then during the other parts of the year, people kept asking me for candy cane ice cream. And you can't get candy canes if it's not the holiday time. So what I would do around the holidays is I would tell the whole staff, go out and buy all you can, because now these boxes of candy canes became 25 cents instead of $2, because the stores wanted to get rid of them. It was after Christmas. So they would come home with carloads of this stuff, and I would put it in the freezer and keep it. However, all good things come to an end. I needed an alternative to candy canes getting the same flavor, and I found it. Let's go to the freezer and see what he found. Starlight Mints. You've heard of them, right? The restaurants keep them in a bowl by the cash register. Not the puffy ones. There's two kinds of Starlight Mints. There's the rock hard ones and the puffy one. Don't get the puffy ones. So these are the rock hard ones, and last night I spent, while you were laying around enjoying yourself and doing what you do, I was unwrapping all these candies. Oh. Hey, huh? So now all we have left to do is what? Right, pulverize them. Because what we want, to put it really in basic terms, we want candy cane powder, or what are these called? Starlight Mint powder. So I froze them when I got here this morning just to make it a little easier in the Ninja, and so we don't have any gumming up. We don't want gumming up. Now this is going to be very loud. What? It's going to be very loud. And what we're going to come out with is candy cane powder. Now, interestingly enough, after the holidays, I like this ice cream so much that I wanted to serve it year-round to not have a holiday title to it, like candy cane. So, so I thought about it. One got away from me. So I thought about it, and my next favorite snack food was York peppermint patties. Those are pretty good. So what I did was I took the candy cane formula and I added dark chocolate to it. Not liquid dark chocolate, but it's not drops. They sell sheets. What do you call it of dark chocolate?
Just the bars or in Roebling chocolate?
Like sheets they sell. You know, you can buy that. So that's what I added, and I called it peppermint patty. And it worked. And if it didn't work, I just eat it myself. Okay, hang on. You can hear when it's done, no more chunking. Look, it's smoking. See the smoke? Woo! And this, I'll show you this, so we can do it. We have created peppermint powder. And that's going to infuse into the ice cream and make a great flavor. Okay, so once again, 5 quarts of mix. Who's going to do this? Nah, I'll do it. 5 quarts of mix. Want to share that? No.
Let me ask a question.
Go ahead.
So if you're creating flavors like you have here, how do you determine how much of your, now your peppermints,
How do I determine how much
how
sugar?
much to add? No, how much of the peppermints?
Oh, well,
to
that's creating a recipe. In my boot camp kit, I show you how to create a recipe on the counter. And then you'll trial and error it, see what you like. That's the fun part, and that's the artistic part. That's more than half of what makes this career so exciting. Because you have the artistic part, you have a little bit of science, and then you have a great big money-making part. So it's all fun. Okay. We'll add this. And then we'll add this. Let's see.
A question about the machine. Yeah. Steve.
What?
I have a question about the machine. So we have the water cooled and the air cooled. So is it like?
We'll get into that during the Q&A period. We're going to have a question and answer period, and we'll address that then. Fair enough?
Good.
All right, so now we're going to do what we always do. We're going to start it up, make ice cream, homemade, start it up, 234 revolutions per minute. And we'll add this.
Obviously, after having made that batch, you would want to sanitize it, right? Because all that peppermint
No,
might be,
rinse.
just rinse it. That would redress
What I'm
it.
doing, just rinsing it out from the flavor.
You don't have to sanitize unless you put your hands inside the machine and contaminate it.
All that stuff is really a joke. But they have to substantiate those books on the shelves of the city workers. But sanitizing the machine, it's almost silly. Sorry. Because, yes.
Sorry. When you, I know you had kept does the machine default to a certain setting with how fast, how many revolutions? Or is it always, whatever you leave it on, it'll start up again?
No, whatever, when you first start it up, it says make ice cream or get help. Hit make ice cream.
Yep.
The next screen will give you 6 choices, which will affect the speed. One of the choices might be Italian ice, which that's full speed. One of them might be gelato, that's 174, 165. So whichever one you press will correspond to the speed of the machine. But there is no automatic reset.
The default setting is 0 because you haven't picked the product yet.
So look at the end, if you were making, let's say, gelato that was not spinning as fast, and then if you wanted to get the rest to go, you turn it up, you can hit a reset.
All you have to do is push the up arrow to speed it up. But when you turn it off the machine and then come back to turn it on, it's going to 0 because you haven't picked anything.
Milk and the ice cream and the mints and that one? 2 ingredients?
2 ingredients. Most of my book is 2, maybe 3 ingredients. Because if you think about it, if you want Oreo cookie ice cream, why would you need anything more than Oreo cookies and mix? I like to keep it simple because I find that I get most flavor out that way. In the book, glad you brought this up.
Where is the book?
What?
That's the book?
Yeah.
That's the one
No, you don't have it.
That's the one I'll get. That's the one I'll buy for you today?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, okay. Under, I should have read this before, but this will answer your question. Apple pie, we made this before. And it starts out, this recipe has quite a few ingredients because it's not like all the other recipes in the book. Here, Oreo cookie, we just talked about it. Oreos, mix, and a little vanilla. But that's how it should be. It's just M&M ice cream. What do you think we need?
M&M.
And? Okay, done. M&M, mint, done. So that's what I like to keep it at. Coffee, yeah, and you get the most flavor that way. Coffee chip ice cream. Coffee, chips.
Yeah.
And
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
what?
Thank you.
For what?
Yes.
Okay, so
Give me the money, I'll give you the book.
So we add all these ingredients, right, for whatever ice cream you are making. So when is it too late to add the ingredients?
Great question.
So,
You want to talk about it? I'll
Go
talk.
ahead.
All right.
so we also talk about running the machine for longer, or earlier we talked about it, right? So some people want to run a little bit longer than, for example, a recipe takes 9 minutes. So some people want to run a little bit longer, maybe 11 minutes.
Just picture this. Picture a bowl on your counter in your kitchen. You pour in heavy cream. Now you have a mixer. You're going to make whipped cream. How long do you beat it for? If you beat it for the average amount of time, you'll have whipped cream. If you beat it before it's the average, you'll have soupy whipped cream that'll melt quicker. If you let it go longer, you'll have very stiff, peaked whipped cream. It's the same thing.
What was the first part of your question?
So there is no way we can fix. For example, we ran out of that time period where we have to add all the ingredients into the machine, and we crossed that time, and there is no way going back.
Usually about, if it's going to be an 8-minute batch, about 4 minutes is what you've got to get the ingredients in there. After that, it's turning into ice cream and it's not going to be able to get it out.
Right,
There's an
but-
exception.
But you might want to do that if you want different texture. When it's, like right now, it's been going for almost 5 minutes. Right now, I could take some mints, grind them up into gravel consistency, and add them now. And they'll maintain that integrity in the ice cream. So I don't like to do that, but you could. If you're making M&M ice cream, at this point in the process, you can take M&Ms and start throwing them in. They won't degrade as much as in the beginning. So that'll be what you want customers to experience. They're eating their ice cream, whoop, there's a big M&M.
The other part of the answer to your question is, if you called up here and said, 4 times this week, I couldn't get the ingredients in because I waited too long, what do? I would be flippant and say, fire the ice cream maker. Your job is to make the ice cream. You shouldn't be doing anything else. If you are making ice cream and trying to serve customers, you're going to freeze up the machine, or you're going to get to the point where you can't put anything in. You're going to spend the next 2, 3, 4 hours making ice cream. That's all you should do. No talking on the phone, no sending texts. Everything is about making the ice cream. So you have your timer, and again, it's like my wife baking or Jeff's wife baking. The timer is an approximation. We go over and we say, okay, it's reading 7 minutes, but we look at it and we say, no, I think it needs to go a little longer. Again, other people have tried to mechanize this process. It does not work because every ice cream's different. 35 years ago, I had an invention that I came up with that Cappigiani later put on their machines. And what it was basically an amp meter that measured the load on the motor. The thicker the product, the higher the amp meter would go. They call it the Hard-O-Matic. I just had a meter on there. It didn't work out because it meant the employee had to come over and study the meter rating. Or with the Hard-O-Matic, it would just shut down and the ice cream wasn't ready. So it's not a science, but it does take a little bit of paying attention to what you're doing.
As you always mention, you want consistency.
Yeah.
You want, because your customer's going to want that.
We want that mint chip to be just like Jeff had it 2 years ago at your store, with no changes unless you, the owner, make the changes. It's not an automated process. Somebody asked me about cleaning in place. I think that may have been an email I got this morning. Clean in place is where you never take the machine apart. You're just pumping through sanitizer. And the only machines that do clean in place start at about $500,000 and go up. So anything's possible, but it's not even practical to do it. Yes?
Now, I noticed when you first started turning the blades spinning, you don't hear it, but now you can hear
The ice cream's getting hard.
it's just the ice cream's getting harder.
Yeah.
Before, it's just a liquid, milk.
Now he's turned it off, and in about 40 seconds, somewhere in there, you'll hear the compressor shut off. There you go. Now it's ready to take out. Now see how fast that comes out? That's important. The Italian machines they're just not very creative. Our guards, you can't get your hand in there because we designed a good guard that doesn't block the flow out. They have bars, and that bars slow down the whole process to say, oh, doesn't that look nice? It makes such a pretty look. Well, that pretty look is gone the first time you put a scoop into it and scoop it. The ripples are no longer there. But those ripples just slow it down so much that the first tub weighs heavier than the last tub. This one, it doesn't.
This is good.
Is it a good flavor?
Woo, very good.
It's pretty in pink. I like that.
The other thing I like about the way Jeff does this is I also make candy cane ice cream. I make it at Christmas, and it's exclusively to bring to an expanded family get together over the holidays. There's a lot of little kids there, I mean real little kids. And other people make the ice cream because they can't put anything into the machine. They just are breaking up candy canes into pieces and putting the pieces in. I don't want a child to get a shard of candy cane stuck in their throat. That would be terribly dangerous. But by freezing the candy canes, grinding them in the Ninja, and pouring it as a powder, you get a much more intense flavor, and you don't have any of the risk of a child with something stuck in their throat. So that's important.
By freezing them, it just makes them pulverize better?
Sure, because for every particle of dairy, there's a particle of candy cane. If I just threw in candy cane pieces, I'm making vanilla with pieces of candy cane.
Yeah, when you taste this, you're eating a liquid candy cane.
Well, in freezing the candy canes or freezing the peppermints beforehand too makes it a lot less sticky. If you've ever noticed, if you've opened a candy cane and it's sat at room temperature, it could be a little sticky to the touch. So freezing them beforehand in the wrapper and then taking them out is the easiest method.
What if the machine, like, we accidentally forget to turn it off and it overruns and it becomes very hard?
Not going to happen.
If you accidentally forget to turn the machine off, kind of like baking, you know that when you've left the oven on for an hour and a half too long because your house is on fire. This way, it will not set your house on fire. It will shut itself down. You come back to a frozen mass. Nothing's going to start because it's all just a block of ice cream in there. You're going to have to open the door, scoop it all out, and start over. So what's the solution? Don't walk away from the machine. You're here to make ice cream. I've got a friend up in Massachusetts. He's got an ice cream room, and he's got a sign out in front of it that says, "We love you. We think you're great. You're the best people on earth. I'm making ice cream. Go away." And that's the attitude you have to have. You can't multitask when your job is to make what you're selling in the store. Yes?
Will the consistency and...
I'm sorry, can you speak up?
Sorry, if the ingredients are cold, like, the mints, right, will it affect the runtime?
No, it's not so cold and there's not so much of it that the frozen ingredients will affect the runtime. It's just so that they don't all stick together, because if you just take those candies and put them in the Ninja, you're going to have a block of just ground up and stuck together product, and you can't work with it. The freezing makes it so much simpler.
Okay, so when you work with Italian ice, sometimes you need sugar, or not, scratch that. Sometimes you need water and sometimes you don't. With this recipe, we don't need water. We're just going to use straight juice. If you're working with whole juices like a pineapple juice, an orange juice, things like that that aren't diluted with water, like a lemonade, that's already pre-made in a bottle and it's diluted down. It doesn't work very well. It's very very bland, and then you're going to have to add more lemon anyways. I like to buy, when I work with juices, like an example, this one, it's unfiltered apple juice. You can buy the juicy juice if you want, if that's your preference, but this is just straight pureed and straight pure apple juice, nothing else added to it, so that definitely helps. Now, Torani syrup is a big player in the ice cream and Italian ice game. I'll pass this around in a little bit so you can see it. I actually picked this up at Marshall's. So believe it or not, it's very common. You can find it in Walmart sometimes, in places like Ross and Marshall's and things like that. And then, of course, you could buy it at like restaurant depots. So this is a syrup, and this is an extract. There are times where you want to use an extract and sometimes for a syrup. When you're working with Italian ices, it's really good to use a syrup. To me, it's a syrup. It's got a texture to it, even though it's kind of clear looking, but it's more bold. It's got a more flavor. It can hold itself better than an extract. An extract, you do a little couple ounces, versus this, you're going to need like 2 cups worth at least. And that gives your Italian ice a body, and it gives it better flavor. All right, so we need how much juice? How much juice? All right. And here we go. So while Jeff was making his ice cream, I had actually gone in the back, in the other kitchen, and hand-peeled apples and put them in some lemon water so they didn't brown. And then I just pureed them with a little bit of Torani syrup. You can puree it with apple juice if you want to, whichever. Now, I know we talked about how you don't need, look at that, I only needed these. You don't need to add them all together first and then put them into the machine, because the machine can do it. But when you work with sugar, It's best if you add it to your water that you're using or your juice. You don't have to, but we just suggest it. Reason is because sugar acts like sandpaper. So when you pour it straight into the machine, your blades are going to scrape that sugar like a sandpaper, and over time it can just have your blades wear down a little bit faster. I'm not saying you're going to have to replace your blades in a couple months. I'm just saying instead of the typical 5 years, you're going to maybe look at 3 to 4 years when you got to replace it. So those in the Italian ice industry have to replace their blades a little bit more than those that's in the ice cream industry. Don't have to fully dissolve the sugar, just get it nice and wet. So all we're putting it in here, right, was just the pureed apples, some Torani syrup, and this, right? And how much Torani syrup? All right, so let's do that. Let's get rid of this bottle. Maybe I should have opened this beforehand. So when you work with Italian ices, you don't have to have as much room in your cylinder as you would ice cream. Does anybody know why? Because it doesn't have any fat content. So when you talk about overrun and expansion, it only applies to dairy. Dairy has fat, fat equals expansion. When you work with Italian ice or dairy-free, water-based product, there is no expansion. A simple way to put it is if you were to take like heavy cream and put it in a bowl and whisk it really fast, you just made yourself homemade whipped cream, because the whipping cream has fat. If you were to take sugar and water or this and water and stick it in a bowl and whisk it real fast, nothing's going to happen. It's going to stay the same. So it has a little bit of expansion just because of the molecules freezing, but it's not going to double your product. So we can have a little bit more room. I'll let you guys pass that around. All right.
Hold off 1 second. The last thing Christy did was sanitize the machine. Is this machine ready to go? Does anybody see anything wrong? It's not. The door is open. It's going to go all over the floor. Always check that your door is closed.
So we're going
to...
to...
all the fun.
I know I do. But I usually have to clean it up.
And did you sanitize because you're working with now ice instead of...
No, we didn't sanitize. We didn't open up the door. As long as human hands don't touch the parts, you don't have to sanitize. We just go on to another product. It's your hands that are contaminated. Everything else in here is all stainless steel. There's nothing to contaminate. So whether we switch from dairy to water, there's no contamination. It's all here. So don't take the door off. You don't have to sanitize.
Now we talked about freeze times. What did we just add? 2 pounds of sugar, some syrup, which is sugar. Apples have natural sugar, and the apple juice has sugar. So we just added sugar, 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 sugar. So this is going to take a little bit longer to freeze than a traditional ice cream. So I went ahead and I started my refrigeration. I don't need to sit there and let it run and let me taste it. I've already done it before. So I'm going to go ahead and get it started while I add my other stuff. You can do the same thing too. Instead of doing it like I did, you can pour your, oops, sorry, Jeff. You could put your juice or your water straight in there. Go ahead, turn that freezer on if you want, and start adding your stuff, because it's not going to freeze that fast within the first minute or two. Any questions about Italian ice? Yes?
Will you skip the sugar since it already has sugar in the juice, sugar in the syrup, sugar in the apples? Why would you add more sugar?
Because the machine needs something to freeze. So if you didn't hear him, he wants to know, why are you adding more sugar if everything already has sugar in it? So the machine still needs something. It's got to have a body. It's got to have some type of background to it to be able to freeze. If I were to just put the juice and stuff in there, it's going to freeze more like a slushy consistency. If we add that sugar to it, now the machine has something to hold, and it's going to start to freeze. And it's going to give that really beautiful scooping texture. So a lot of people call and they go, I had the best Italian ice. It was so creamy, so smooth. Why was it so smooth? Because of sugar content. This is really high in sugar, so it's going to scoop so creamy and smooth. Your lemon Italian ice that just has sugar, water, and lemon juice, it's not going to be as creamy as this one is, because the natural sugars from everything else that we added. If you want your lemon ice to scoop as well as this sour apple Italian ice, then you just add more sugar to that. You can add in this machine like a half a pound. If you're coming to this one, I would probably add another pound. So it really depends on also what you're making. It's a lot of fun. It's an art, like Jeff says, and it's a science.
The lemon ice is going to take about 13 minutes to freeze. I'm going to peg this one at 17 to 18 minutes because that Tyranny is just a bottle of pure sugar. This, as Christy said, is also sugar. There is so much sugar in here. It's going to have a tremendous flavor. If you left the sugar out, you'd have a bland product. A New York Italian ice in this machine uses 2 pounds of sugar. If I make a Philadelphia ice, which is smoother and creamier, it's going to be 2.5 pounds of sugar. And if I go up to Rhode Island, where they call it slush, it's not going to be 2.5 pounds. It's not going to be 2 pounds. It's going to be about 1.25 pounds, and it is so bland it has no taste. But they love it, so I can't knock it too much. But the sugar is controlling the freezing time, the texture, the smoothness, and the flavor. Without the sugar, you don't have a flavorful product.
Oops, sorry.
Yes.
Is there a minimum to how much you could put in either machine for like a batch? Like what if you only wanted to get 1 pint of ice cream out of the machine?
So when you work with the smaller models, there is no as minimal as you can do when it comes to dairy. It's pretty much the minimal is the maximum. The reason is if you don't put enough into the machine, it doesn't have enough product to actually freeze and churn. So it's just going to start sticking to the walls and to the blades. When you work with dairy, we talked about expansion. So you have to have at least 3.5 quarts of mix put into the machine, and you can't put any more than that because it's got to have room to freeze and expand. If you're running on a very slow setting, like a custard or a gelato, which is a very low overrun, then you can get away by putting 4 quarts in there because it doesn't need all that room to expand. When you work with non-dairy, like Italian ice or water-based products, or even a cream ice, also known as a sherbet, I say sherbet, you don't have to add, you can add a little bit more as well.
I make a flavor for myself because everyone steals my ice cream. Everybody on the factory floor, in the office. I make coffee banana ice cream. And I can do, on the bigger machines, I can do a half batch of that because I don't want that much coffee banana ice cream. But you really have to look at it a different way and say, unless you're experimenting or unless this is a one-off flavor, maybe the reason that you don't want to, that you're only making a half batch is nobody likes your flavor. It's a lousy flavor. If you're making bubblegum licorice ice cream and calling up and asking, can I make a half batch of it because it doesn't sell well, maybe you shouldn't be selling it. It sounds crazy, but it's a conundrum in business because I absolutely love coffee banana ice cream. Nobody else in this building does.
I didn't
So
steal it.
I should not be selling coffee banana ice cream in a store if I had one. So keep that in mind too, that if you're always making a half batch, maybe it's a flavor nobody likes. I was checking with Jeff, he agreed.
I agree with that. So to go back a little bit and talk about what can break down in the machine and what can't. Obviously this is an apple. I peeled it, I sliced it, I tossed it in some lemon water to make sure it didn't brown before I got it pureed. So these are obviously very hard to break down. Cantaloupe is. Then you go to your blueberries, your strawberries, your watermelons. That is a softer type of texture, so it can break down and pulverize in the machine a lot better than something like this would. Like Jeff said with the canned apple pie filling, those are pretty chunked apples. They're going to break down, but they're not going to break down to the consistency that he was looking for. So that's why he pureed them. This, it's an absolute necessity. Funny story. So, oh yes. A banana? So he asked about a banana. That's a lot of fun. You just peel that banana and you just slide that sucker right down in there, and it'll mash that whole banana up. So one thing that Steve and I did find out that does not do anything in the machine was a whole pickle spear. So we made a dill pickle Italian ice. It's a huge seller in Texas, FYI. It's really good, and then we garnished it with, yes it is, we garnished it with a strip of bacon. So we use the Clausen pickles, the refrigeration. So Steve and I were trying to figure out how to do this, and we're like, all right, so we'll just slide that whole pickle spear in there and see what happens. So we did, and we kind of did a cutoff check. Nothing happened. Like, we don't see no pickles, you know. So then we took the door off, and there's all the pickle spears.
Just
you know,
rolling around in
rolling
there.
around in the. That was a lot of
The
fun.
best part of that flavor was the bacon. The bacon was great.
No, it was really good. You can go to YouTube and type in on Emery Thompson machine the dill pickle Italian ice. We did an audience shot of everybody trying it. It was really good. Definitely a lot better than the ranch ice cream that I did. I had to get on the wagon. Everybody else was doing it.
Awful.
Ranch ice cream. It's awful. 0 out of 10
It's
recommend. It's horrible. But Van Leeuwen was, you know, it was this whole kick, and they were all making ranch ice cream. I was like, all right. That video's on Facebook. You'll see me in my kitchen at home making that ranch ice cream. It was terrible. I did the ranch powder packet is what I used. But you know what? That maybe a half batch is good for it. You stick a sign out on the road and the sidewalk, ranch ice cream. People might go, ew, or dill pickle Italian ice, but you know what? They might come in. Then they're not going to order that, but they're going to see that and come in and try it. You had a question?
I was gonna say, did you use like a ranch packet powder or?
It was Hidden Valley Ranch, the powder packets, and it was just straight dairy mix, and poured that in there. I think I used 2. It was bad. It's actually in that freezer if anybody is brave enough to have a little lick of it.
The only way you should ever sell it is if you have a sign that says "World's Worst Ice Cream."
Yes, I agree.
And then at least they can taste and say, "Yeah, you were right. It is the world's worst ice cream." You've heard Christy and I talk, and we rattle off these formulas. You know, we can just do it from heart. The lemon ice is 2 pounds of sugar, 4 quarts of water, and 3/4 of a quart of lemon juice. These recipes are at our website. We have over 600 YouTube videos. Now, the advantage of that, number one, is we give it all away for free. Every machine comes with lifetime technical support, free lifetime technical support. But that starts today. That doesn't start after you buy a machine. You can call up today and say, hey, how would I go about making this product? Now, there was a customer in the back who asked the question, what about experimenting? Well, if you've got the recipe for strawberry ice cream and at our website, and it tells you exactly what ingredients to put in, you now can also make blueberry, raspberry, mango, any of those fruits, because they're all fruits, they're all sweet, and so the mathematical formula, which I go by, is going to work for all of them. And then you take that mathematical formula and say, well, what if I add more water? Well, it's going to dilute the flavor. What if I add more sugar? It's going to make it sweeter. That's fine. I've got a sweet tooth, so I can play with the sugar. But I can't really play with the water because it's going to throw the recipe off. But if you know one type of product, like Oreo cookie, once you know how to make Oreo cookie, which is just the dairy blend, 3/4 of a bag of Oreo cookies and a little bit of vanilla. Once you know that, you can make chocolate chip cookie. You can make macaroon cookie, because you're still dealing with cookies. So you're not going to be spending hours and days trying to perfect another cookie formula. You've already got it by having done it once. And between Jeff's book, Christy has a wonderful book of a lot of recipes in it, and plus what we have at our website, we've got you covered. And then every one of you will go out and go into business like our 40,000 other customers in 171 countries, and you'll all have a different vanilla ice cream. You'll all have an Oreo cookie because you'll add your own personal creativity to it. That will be different from ours. But mathematically, it's going to work in the machine.
Absolutely, and I agree with that fully. You know, a lot of people will ask, well, do I have to, you know, with our formulas, they're free. Do I have to give you recognition, or can I change a recipe? Absolutely, make it your own. We don't need credit. We don't need any of that. Don't ask our permission. Take my recipe, botch it up. I don't care. Make it your own, you know. In that book, there is over 100 recipes, and it's all broken down for each machine. So no matter which machine that you purchase, the math is already done for you, and the pages are writable as well. Getting a little ahead of the game, there is, if you go see Kendall in the front, she has a book that's open. If you wanted to finger through it, just kind of take a glance at it. If you'd like to purchase one, just go in the front and ask for Kendall. She'll definitely let you look through one, and you can purchase it with her as well. And then on the YouTube videos, you can go to there and just take notes. Those are also always for free. And you can always give me a call and ask anything that's on your mind. I've even had people don't know how to make something, or it's weird, or it's odd. You know, someone asked, how do you make ice cream with real bacon? I said, I don't know, but I'll find out. So that's what I did. I had my husband make bacon, and he candied it. He coated it in brown sugar and baked it in the oven, and, you know, I made maple bacon ice cream, and that's in the book as well. Amazing. It was amazing. So is my feedback to the customer. So we're here to help too. So if you have a question, you don't know something for certain, will this work or that work? You never know. Steve and I might know of a customer that already has done it, and we can tell you, yes, we know it works. I can figure it out for you, or we can just kind of work it out together and go from there. So we're at 12 and a half minutes, and I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to still be a little soupy because, like Steve said, it's full of sugar.
It's going to 17.
It's not too bad.
No, not too bad.
I'm going to say about 15, 16, about what Steve said. But also keep in mind too that the machine sat for a minute or two, so it got, you know, room temperature again. If this was already cold and you're on your 4th batch of sour apple Italian ice, it's not going to take that amount of time every single time. Yes, sir.
Grease trap. Is there a need for grease trap in your business?
No. Or go ahead. You're more on that one.
That unfortunately is my bailiwick, is the grease trap. It's the latest thing in opening up a business at all the different states. It's the first thing I hear about is they want a grease trap. Well, the health department, their idea of a grease trap is somewhere around $25,000, because that's what they put into McDonald's, where they're pouring 55 gallons of drum down the drain, and they want a grease trap for it because they're doing all those French fries. When they tell you that you need a grease trap, look up on Amazon, find a $300 grease trap, print it out, and just say, this is what I'm buying for the grease trap. I used to argue with them and say, if I'm throwing dairy down the drain, I'm losing money. I'm not putting any fat down the drain. Until I realized that isn't what they're trying to do. They don't care about what's going down the drain. They care about their checklist and checking off grease trap, 3-compartment sink, stainless steel tables. So you don't need a $30,000 grease trap. It's going to waste. But spend the $300, put the grease trap in, and never have to be bothered by the health department again. It's really that, unfortunately, that simple. But someone writes an article, it spreads around through these health departments, and then they say, oh, that's something new for us to look for. It's unfortunately ridiculous.
How about the floor? Is there
A what?
The floor and your walls?
Sure, you talk to the health department, and I tell people, interrupt me if I get too close.
I think we're still okay.
Okay. They have a big book of rules and regulations, and they can keep you out of business. So you have to be smarter than them. You sit down with the health department, you bring a notepad, and anytime you talk to them, you have a notepad. And let's call the inspector Phil. Phil, the inspector, says, I need dairy tile walls, I need dairy tile floors, and you write that down, and then you call up Christy or me or Jeff, and we say, well, you know what, is that floor concrete? Sure is. Well, how about we spend $87 and seal it with Rust-Oleum 2-stage epoxy paint? It seals it perfectly. Before you do it, you talk to Phil. Hey, Phil, can I do a 2-stage epoxy paint instead of a $10,000 tile floor? He goes, yeah, sure, why not? We write down, on this date, Phil said okay. Now, when Phil's boss comes in a month to do the final inspection, remember, he taught Phil. And the boss goes, what's with this floor? Who approved that? Oh, Phil did on October 14th. Well, I taught Phil, so the boss taught Phil, so I'm not going to go against my own employee. So you can find less expensive ways to do it, but the bottom line is you have to work with them. So find out what the rules are, and then look if there's alternatives to putting up a $5,000 dairy tile walls. You can put up a washable surface instead, and that's important. Yes?
I feel like your machines are workhorses, right? And let's say like we're in Boston and something goes wrong. Who services things?
We do. You call us first. We have 7-day-a-week service, and this is not shipped off to somewhere outside of the state of Florida. It's right here. In fact, if you call at 8:30 at night, we go from 8 in the morning till 9 at night, 7 days a week. If you call at 8:30 at night, you're actually going to get me on the phone, because nobody else is crazy enough to work those hours except me. And if you say, hey, I want to order some O-rings, I'm going to say, great. Please call us in the morning and Michaela will assist you because there's nothing I can do about O-rings at 8:30 Sunday night. If you say my machine just went down, I'll ask you a series of questions and there's a good 95% chance we'll have you running in 5 minutes because somebody put something in backwards. More and more I'm hearing that the owner isn't making the ice cream, but we hired a really great person. Well, did you teach the really great person that the blades have to go in a certain direction? Because if you didn't, it's going to freeze up. If we had to change out a switch or a control, you call us and we will use a local person in your area. We have the best service of any company in the industry.
All right, it's going to be a very pretty green. This is an amazing flavor, especially for the holidays like October.
No, beautiful.
You have like a max hours of operating per machine, or can they run 24/7?
Yeah, the max hours is when you get exhausted and quit.
Okay.
The machine can run 24 hours a day, and on average, an Emery Thompson lasts 40 years. You'll give out long before it does. But you're going to call me, and you're going to say, oh, I'm running this thing 18 hours a day. What do I do? And I'm going to say, buy a hardening cabinet. What? If I'm running the machine 18 hours a day, yeah, but you have nowhere to put the ice cream, so you can't run it 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
So your next step is a hardening cabinet. And then after you exhaust that, and you need to actually get some time off, then you move up to a bigger machine. When we first put you into business, Christy and I are working to get you into business for the lowest amount of money possible. Usually somewhere around $50,000 to outfit a complete store. I used to do $200,000 stores, but people don't have money. And our audience has gotten much younger, and they don't have the lines of credit yet. So we start with this, the CB350, and then you'll tell us when you need the 24 quart. But by the time you do, you're making so much money because you're running it 18 hours a day that it's going to be, hey, how soon can I get an Emery Thompson 24 quart? You call anybody else, they're going to tell you 11 to 18 months. We're going to tell you 3 weeks. And at worst, for the biggest machine, 4 weeks. Nobody can do that except us. Everything but the kitchen sink, huh, Jeff?
Yep. This will just prove you can make ice cream out of anything good. It's just like bakers. If the ingredients are all good, the end product's going to be really good. So you can skimp on these. 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 And you can skimp on these. These are Butterfingers. But why do that? Why do that? Buy the best. This, by the way, is what's left of a Whitman sampler we had at home. So I figured throw those in too. Why not, right, Joe? George? All right, so first we want to grind these down. These are like little logs now. They're rock hard. So we're going to put them in here and see what happens. Okay, so we have powder. All right, that's one batch. Now, let's put some of these in here.
Kendall?
Should we put the chocolate chips in here or just leave them bite-sized? How many say leave it bite size?
Bite size.
How many say chop them up? Okay, we leave them bite size. Okay, now let's put some M&Ms in there. Now, I'm not going to put all the M&Ms in there because we talked before about what happens when you add them in the middle of the batch, right? So we'll try that. We'll see what happens. But these M&M peanuts, we should chop up, right? To get that M&M peanut flavor. Boy, are these good. They're really good. All right, we'll add the M&Ms later. We also have the white chocolate chips. Oh, these are the Whitman sampler. We'll throw those in here. And of course, they were frozen. And it's all on the keto diet. No. All right, that should be good. You need this for your last one?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, so we have some M&Ms and some chips, white chips. We'll add those while we're cooking, right? Okay. Good enough. So now we'll take the, how many quarts?
5.
5. All right, who wants to pour it in the machine? I'll do it. You? Wow, out of the whole class, you're the last guy I would let do it. All right. No, the scoop. Okay, who wants to scoop this in while it's... No.
Maybe it's that ice cream machine sale.
Okay, we'll add this in and then we'll taste it, see what we got. Don't forget to remind us to add this after a few minutes. And when you think about it, what could be bad with this item? Nothing. It has to be great. We'll add a little vanilla too.
Especially
that mint one you did. Man, that was really good.
Uh-oh, we got a lot to live up to?
You got a lot to live up to. Can you top that, Jim?
We'll see.
All right, we're gonna see. More than two.
Is this a water cooled or air cooled machine? This one?
What?
Is this a water cooled or air
Yes,
cooled?
water. Yeah, when you have a water-cooled machine, first let's turn it on. When you have a water-cooled machine, it comes with two hoses in the back of the machine. One is the water going into the machine to cool it as the engine's running. And the other is the water coming out, which will be warmer because it's cooled the engine. And that comes... What?
The compressor kicked off.
And that will go into the sink here. And you can use it to, either you can reclaim it because it's good, or you can use it to wash. I usually use it to wash. Spatulas, dishes, whatever. Let's taste this. Don't forget that we got to add those other things, all right? Because I'll forget. All right, we're going to add, ooh, that's good. Some M&Ms. Huh? Oh, that's good. Well, how could it not be good? We'll add some white chocolate chips. This is the rest of them. M&Ms? Now, will the machine chop these up?
No.
Break them out.
A little bit. Now, could we add other stuff to it? Of course, we could add anything to
Cinnamon
it.
Toast Crunch.
What?
Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal.
Funny you mention that. We made Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal ice cream. And there's a place in Manhattan, not far from Times Square, they sell breakfast cereal ice creams. And when you walk in, there's all the ice cream, all this breakfast cereals, and you can have ice cream out of any of them. Probably be out of business pretty soon.
Tell them why.
Well, it's a fad. You know, it's, remember.
And they get soggy.
Oh boy, do they ever. Remember that?
Yeah.
Remember one thing, in whatever you do, just remember this one thing. It's the most important thing you can ever remember. Your whole future will be based on this. I forgot. No. Every single person wants what you have. So your goal is simply to make the best of it and get it out there. Two very simple things. And remember that every customer that walks in your door, from the very first person to the 100th to the 1000th, every customer that walks in that door is going to become your salesman. And he'll do that because you make the absolute best ice cream in the world, and you're nice people. Most of you. You're nice people. So that's really all you have to, you don't have to do anything else. That's why location doesn't matter. Keep your cost. Remember, the price you charge is a two-way street. It has to be fair to your customer, but it has to be fair to you. You're in this to make money, but there's so much that being fair is easy. So every customer is going to be your ambassador, your salesperson, because anytime somebody asks him, hey, where's good ice cream? Huh. You know where good ice cream? George, he makes good ice cream. The best. And when nobody asks, he's telling his friends. And I have another secret that'll get him coming back, but that's another story.
Of all the cereals out there, the only one that will not turn to
Grape
mush
nuts?
is Grape Nuts.
That's it.
And this is a big flavor up in Boston, Massachusetts, where we put grape nuts into the machine, golden raisins, and that's it. Maybe a little vanilla. And it makes a fantastic product. But these are all, really crunchy and,
Some
and
rum.
make sure it says grape nuts, not grape nut flakes.
You put it in after or before?
You put them in while it's running. So that's a great ice cream and uniquely different. So give it a try sometime.
No. Now, the one thing about that grape nuts, I would suggest if you're not going to make grape nuts. I would suggest adding something a little sweet.
Besides the raisins?
Yeah, maybe a little honey.
Honey would be great.
Yeah, honey would go. But that Cinnamon Toast Crunch, how soggy was that?
That was terrible. That was awful. It was great when we first ate it, but the next day it was just horrendous.
Right, that's right.
It was like glue.
That's right. It was great when we made it, but then no good. Honey and what? Yeah, the grape nuts. See, honey. Yes, dear. All right. Any questions about this? You can add anything to this. Yes.
What's the shelf life for these recipes?
What's what?
Shelf life, these recipes roughly?
Okay, I'll use. Steve has a great example, and I'm going to plagiarize you. Okay.
Go ahead.
If you make a flavor, licorice bubblegum licorice ice cream, and it sits in your freezer for 3 weeks, and nobody's bought it, or 3 people have bought it, what's the shelf life of that? Throw it out.
Well, I was just thinking, because I'm a sole proprietor, so if I want to make a whole bunch.
If it's good, you won't have to worry about that, because you'll have to worry about, I got to make more already. So shelf life is nebulous. It's all relative to how much people are wanting it, buying it, eating it. And if it's a good flavor and you made it correctly, don't worry about it. To give you the answer you want to hear, 6 months is no problem. Anything else? Any other questions? No? You look like you're all in sugar shock. It's coming. It's coming. And it's pretty good. Yes, sir.
Will you be doing anything with like a sauce?
A sauce?
Like syrup? Like
I don't do any toppings. No, I don't.
No, like I guess like what you was explaining earlier, like making a flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, not today. When we do them, we do them.
So like, how do you like to, I guess, layer it? If you can explain that real quick.
Look it up on the video. It's on YouTube,
Okay.
as she said.
Yeah, send me an email and I can send you the link to the exact video of how you can watch how he does that variegate.
Now you can variegate any ice cream. You could let's say apple pie. What could you variegate that with? Caramel would be great. And how about the candy cane? What could you variegate that with? Chocolate. Chocolate. Woo! And then you got peppermint patty ice cream. This candy bar, what could you variegate that with? Crushed candies, hot fudge, chocolate fudge. Anything that complements it, you can do. Just got to think about how you're going to thicken it up enough. If you took Hershey's syrup, that won't work. You have to thicken it up so that when it's in a variegate, it'll hold. And you'll get those nice stripes rather than, Yes?
What are the best ways to prevent crystallization?
What?
Any ways to prevent crystallization in ice cream?
Yes,
Like selling
yes.
that.
I'm glad you said that because I heard before everybody's fixated on these 3-gallon tubs. Throw them away. They're the worst enemy for your ice cream. Think about it. A 3-gallon tub. Here's one right here. These are 2.5s, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's your choices. This is what I use. This is what you use. What's the biggest enemy of ice cream?
Heat.
Air. Air. Remember I told you I put them in those freezers and I came back there with no cover, ice crystals? That's what happens. That's why dipping cabinets, forget about them. Don't use them. They're awful. They're the worst thing in the world for ice cream. Sorry. So where are you going to suffer more air coming across? Where are you going to suffer more crystals from air coming across? This surface here or this surface here?
I turned it off.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, I turned it off.
Okay, time to pour. So these make no sense to me. Plus, you're going to lose more in the ice cream that people don't scrape. The kids, if you have them, they don't scrape the whole thing. When it gets a little next one, you're more apt to clean these than these. Eek. Oh my.
Jeff, what actual container then do you use? Do you
What?
actually you serve out of that container right there, or do you
Absolutely.
use that container? Okay.
Yeah, the kitchen, all the kitchens that I've opened the machine is in the kitchen where the customers are served from. So behind the counter where you serve everything is the machine where you make it, because that's the kitchen, and a few small, usually 5 chest freezers, small ones, maybe one that size.
And so you serve right
And-
out of that instead of a
Yeah,
tray?
people come in, they tell, and our menu is on the wall. Very colorful, nice signs of the flavors. And when they tell you they want candy cane ice cream when they come up, the person behind the counter turns around, knows that candy cane is in here, takes it out, puts it on the counter, customer's right here, scoops it out, puts this back, hands it to the customer, they go down to the register.
Is there a lid on that every time it goes in and out, or just
Of course,
at night?
of
Every
course.
time it goes in and out?
Right here.
Gotcha.
Actually, that was the wrong one. Where'd the lids go? Ah, here we go.
Jeff, you said that those who's inside one of these, right?
What?
You said that would be inside.
Yeah, a couple hundred of them.
Okay, so it comes with candy cane, pull the candy cane, put it up.
So there's no need for different service cabinet.
No need for what? A dipping cabinet?
Service cabinet.
Very bad. As what's his name on Seinfeld said, very, very bad.
Why?
Who said why? I just explained why. Well, you weren't here.
No, I wasn't here. Oh, it was the air?
Well, there's about 100 reasons. The dipping cabinets were invented, I guess, Steve, by, dipping cabinet companies, but they wanted the visual on it, right? Right, but then they went to the visual. When you have a dipping cabinet, there's 100 reasons why they're no good. A few of the top reasons are when people walk up your counter and they have a dipping cabinet in front of them, they're going to do this. What's in the Schwabagula? And you have to tell him that, and then he goes, can I try this one? Sure, try this one. Oh, that's good. Can I try? Now the line is all the way to Secaucus. And you got to wait on people here. So it's no good for that reason. And it's no good for the ice cream. and the surface of the dipping cabinet where the tubs are gets all full of the spilled ice cream. It looks like crap. Go into Baskin Robbins. And, I shouldn't say that, should I?
Fine. We put them in business too.
Go into Baskin Robbins and look at the dipping cabinets. It's disgusting. And every time the kid behind the counter opens it up, you can almost see the air whoosh across open tubs of ice cream. 12, 18, 24, 36 open tubs of ice cream. Thanks. It's no good for your ice cream.
What I think you guys consume on an average week?
There's one thing that would make this over the top.
Hot fudge, right?
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
What?
Honey.
Honey?
Yes, it needs a little bit of a background taste. Lots of candy, but not an intense background. That honey that you made, the last class, you made honey vanilla ice cream?
Yeah.
I ate it all. I mean, nobody else even had it. I eat the whole thing.
I like the crunches in there. Pretty good. I don't know what they are, but they're good.
That's just that if this was the Bronx, I'd say they were cockroaches. But
Jeff, can
cleaner.
you run through how you're taking your ice cream from the machine, getting it cold enough, and then to just through that, and then how you bringing it back to serving temperature? Just
Take it out. You don't have to worry about that with chest freezers.
I didn't say a word. Good to see you. Any last questions for Jeff? Because he's going to be heading out. We're going to make one more flavor, Christy and I, and then we're going to give you a tour of this factory.
Well, you could eat a lot of this.
Any questions for him? Yes.
I guess
go
it would
ahead.
be for either of you, but what is cleaning the whole machine down like? Not just rinsing it or sanitizing it?
About 10 minutes. Yeah, 8 to 10 minutes. A soft ice cream machine, if you've ever heard anybody, when they talk about a cleaning machine, you're talking an hour.
Yeah, it sucks.
At least. Batch freezer, and I don't care whose batch freezer it is, they're 8 to 10 minutes because it's just so big. Such a big diameter.
You don't take the whole center cylinder out, or you do?
You take the dasher out of the machine. In soft serve, you call it a beater. We call it a dasher. Yes, we're going to clean it in place as much as we can, and then we're going to take it to the sink, finish washing it, and then leave the parts to air
Goes
dry.
down easy, doesn't it? Yeah. Too easy.
So very, very
What you
simple.
have on that table is all you're washing, pretty much.
That's it. Let me bring one over and show you. I'll show you the 24 quart. Now, I have a couple of springs on this just to hold everything in place. Otherwise, it would all come flying apart because it's spring loaded. But this is the secret, the heart of the machine right there. My grandfather's dasher was a slightly different design, but our design for the last 10 years, 15 years has been spring loaded. So you don't have to sharpen the blades once a year like we used to. The springs, whether this blade is 1 day old, these two white pieces are what I call the blades. Whether they're 1 day old or 4 years and 11 months, the springs are going to see to it that they push out against the walls. And as Jeff said, I was undervaluing it when I said you change the blades every $1 million or 5 years, because you're going to make a lot more than that, but nobody would believe me. So I just leave it at $1 million. But that's a very simple thing, and you just lay that out on your table. The health department wants that, and that's it. That's all you have to do. That's all stainless steel. That's all made here. I've got another factory up the street and one across the street. Those are our machine shops, and that's where we make all these parts from raw material. Christy, are you ready for the last flavor?
Yeah. Right, yes. Probably put that back.
Yeah, I will.
All right, so we're going to do a very, very popular chocolate chip cookie dough. Take one of these and pass it down. Oops.
How much mix, Christy?
Oh, 3.5, I think. What do I have on there? 3 quarts.
Thank you.
So we're going to do 3 quarts of mix because we're going to use Torani syrup, which is going to bump up the volume to 3.5-ish. So here we have cookie dough that I bought at the store. It says right here, safe to eat raw. You can do that. You can buy it from the store already. I know there are some companies that wholesale cookie dough bits that you can purchase. Obviously, I'm not going to do that because I'm just a small little guy. It's just easier for me to do that instead of buying massive bulk, which is what majority of people do. So that's another beauty about having an Emery Thompson. You're never going to run out of supplies. You need Oreos, you could go even to Dollar General and pick them up. Anything that you need is always at a grocery store, no matter what or where it is. Even just going down, certain aisles, you see certain ingredients. Like, oh, I wonder what that tastes like. You can taste that and then make yourself a new ice cream or an Italian ice or, things of that sort. So we're going to use the Torani syrups again. Chocolate chip cookie dough, also, another popular flavor. So we've got our 3 quarts. And then how much of the Toranis did it say?
16 ounces.
All right, so let's do that. So we get the big one. Uh-oh. You look strong. Can you get it? No? I'll open the other one. One thing about these is it is syrup, so it's sticky. There we go.
Oh, look at that.
There. Well, that's because it didn't have anything on it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and add the 16 ounces. 2 cups, which is half cup. Oh, did I throw that cap out? I did. Oh, it's right
There
here.
it is.
Well, you can pass this one around if you guys wanted to. All right, and then a splash of vanilla, I believe. I think I'll pull a Jeff.
Everybody does. It's my vanilla.
Believe me, it's not a measure.
Yeah, well, I do.
All right. Mitchell, did you want to pour the mix in?
Sure.
All right.
Wait for Jeff.
Okay, so a little tip, I'll show you, and then you can do it. So hold it how you're comfortable. Are you right or left?
Right.
Okay, so you don't want to put it on the throat. You want to hold it up and pour. Okay?
Okay. Make me proud, Dad.
Hey.
Don't spill it.
Go too fast. Too fast.
You're doing
Got
just
this.
fine.
They smoked this big guys.
Now you have a new assistant.
Jeff's coming.
We'll stay up here. You can help me the rest of the way. You want to help the rest of the way? Okay, so close this.
Finish up with.
So you're going to touch that rotating ET logo. Uh-huh. Hit make ice cream. Homemade. Start. And then because we're going to add the cookie dough bits, you can go ahead and turn that on.
Watch you guys turn on his little finger. You're gonna get stuck.
He does better than I do. All right. So now you're going to open that. But hold on. Here. You can hold the, there you go, that'll work too. And then just make sure it goes down. If it doesn't, give it a little poke.
This should take about a week, huh?
He's doing great. Just don't lose the spatula down in the machine. So we went ahead and
Jeff, look at me, man.
Well, stay up here with me. Don't leave me yet. There we go. So we went ahead and turned on the refrigeration because as we were talking before, we're going to let it run for a couple of minutes before we add the mini chocolate chips. That'll help keep it from preventing from going to the bottom of the machine. It's not going to completely sink to the bottom of the machine, but it just helps kind of keeps the chocolate chips suspended. You can freeze these beforehand. I always recommend to do so. I didn't. Doing so helps keeps the viscosity of the shape and the size of the mini chocolate chips. I know it sounds kind of backwards and silly. It's a machine that freezes, so why is it going to melt the chips? It's not necessarily melting them, but because they're going to be softer in texture, because it is a milk chocolate, it's going to kind of start to break down a little bit more as the blades hit it and they scrape against the cylinder wall. So freezing them beforehand will help keep their shape. So as you can see in here, it's still pretty liquidy, yeah? So we're at 2 minutes, probably another minute or so, it'll get a little bit thicker. And then we will dump about, I don't know, half the bag. And you can do that too, but let's talk a little bit. But don't leave me yet. All right, okay.
Listen, guys. There you are.
Anybody have any specific questions before Mitchell goes to put the mini chocolate chips in a couple minutes?
No, not you.
Yes, Omar.
So good. I noticed that you push that button down. That's the refrigeration
Yes.
one. But then earlier, I noticed that Steve noticed that it turned off, and then he said, "Hey, push that button because it turned itself off on its own." Was it me?
Jeff turned it, just touched it briefly, and it didn't make connection.
Okay.
So that's why I need to go back on.
Okay.
If you look,
Mitchell, you keep this up, and I'm going to make you president. You'll have to sign all the checks and back them with your money.
if you lose a spatula or a spoon in there, do you like have to take the cover off to pull it out? Or
Yeah, you will. It's not going to come out the spout. He asked if you did lose the spatula in there, are you going to have to take everything apart? You are, and then because you took the door off, you will have to sanitize it again, obviously. And then that's why you never use glass. We used a glass bowl, but that's all I had in there. I didn't want to come back in here and grab another bowl. But never use actual silverware with the machine. Always use silicone or plastics types, things that can snap and break really easily. Trust me, I have stuck spoons in there and grabbed stuff. I haven't lost one yet. Ooh, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. So how's it looking?
Thicker.
Let's do another minute, you think? Yeah? All right, we'll go another minute. And you see right here where it says the timer? So that starts once you hit this button. So you see it says 3 minutes and 48 seconds, and then we're going to go another minute.
That's right, guys. 3:51 now. And if you can count me, 3:55 now, 6, 7, it's going up to 4.
I'm taking him home. You're a lot of fun. Yes, sir.
Can you give an example of when do you say the super premium setting?
So can I give an example on a super premium setting? So my preference, some others might disagree. I like to save the super premium for fancy flavors. Fancy flavors like butter pecan, maple bacon, things like that, because it's a very high-end flavor. So you can charge $1 more, $2 more. But keep in mind, you're not doubling your yield. So if we're putting in 3 quarts of mix and we're running on super premium, we're not going to get 6 quarts of product back out. You're getting less because the machine's churning slower to put less air into it. How are we looking, Mitchell? What do you think? I think we're good. Let's start dumping. I'll come back to that in a second. Dump away. Here's this in case you need it. He's got this. He's a pro. Is it going?
Yes.
Perfect. Keep dumping some more.
We need some more.
We need more. I agree. You just want to do the bag? Whole bag? Okay. All right. We'll take his word for it.
Gotta watch carefully, eh? It's a science of this.
Did you want to come up and get a photo of him? Keep shoving. Is that your son?
Yes.
He wants to come get you to do it.
There's science in this, guys. So keep watching, eh? Don't lose the spatula. Yeah. Don't talk over here. Concentrate. Keep your eyes on what you're doing.
He's got a lot of orders.
Very simple. This machine costs a lot of money, so be careful with it. Put it back with that. Hold it back so don't spill anything on the floor.
Well, don't leave me yet, because now we got to extract it. Where was I at? Oh, super premium. So we were talking about that. So most people do the homemade setting because you're getting more bang for your buck. So you're doubling your product. So keep that in mind if you do run a super premium. I would kind of save that around the holidays, or if you're in a very touristy area, I would suggest doing that. If you're a mom and pop and just a normal, like where I'm from, Podunk, Oklahoma, and Ada, you're not going to get away with selling super premium ice cream for that kind of a high price. So know your area. You can have a couple flavors ran at super premium, but I wouldn't make your whole selection that, because you got to make the most profit that you possibly can.
I use a super premium when I'm going for a higher butterfat ice cream, because if I've made the conscious decision that I want to make this ice cream more dense than normal, I'm going to parallel it with a higher fat. Then you're truly going to have a super premium. Just lowering the air content doesn't make it super premium. It's the fat content in conjunction with that. So it's almost a waste of time to run super premium unless you take that fat level up. And I explained earlier this morning that we run 10% here for a specific reason. The heat. It doesn't mean I would run 10% in Delaware or Wyoming or Northern California. So you pair it to what, like Christy said, the income level of who you're selling to, can they afford it, but also to the market conditions. So when I go down in air, I go up in fat too.
And what's the overrun on the super premium?
Super premium is about 65% overrun. And those of you who aren't familiar with overrun, you could substitute the word proof as in alcohol. So if you have 100 proof rum, it's 50% alcohol and 50% other stuff. We don't say we have 100 proof vanilla ice cream, which is 50% air and 50% dairy. We say 50% overrun. The two words are synonymous. So you can think of it that way. It makes it a lot simpler.
Got it? Be very careful when you open this, right? Check this is going to be very quick.
Don't do it now.
You know exactly
We already did.
how consistent this is, right? You got to be fast. Go, right?
You could probably do another one. We could probably check it.
Watch it. Careful. Wash your hands. Not your feet. Wash your hands. Right?
Close. A little faster. You gotta
So be a
whoo-hoo.
little faster a while ago. So, right? Just go. It's getting better.
Getting better. So we can go probably another minute.
So when you're doing like let's say a flavorful vegan ice cream or sorbet, would the setting be the same? Like just using the homemade setting?
We have a dairy-free setting you could use, which is it runs lower, but once again, it's really not going to be in a huge play to that because vegan contains no dairy. So once again, there's no expansion.
Okay.
Running it at a slower speed to me will help because most of them are powder mixes, like Mommy's Gelato. It's got to bloom with water, so it's like a powder. You mix it with water and let it bloom. If you were to run that pretty fast, it's going to blend good, but running at slower speed will help really break down that powder and make it more of a creamier, smoother texture. So that's why you see the dairy-free setting at a lower setting than normal homemade ice cream.
Okay.
So, especially when you're working with coconut milk and things like that. You gotta be like super quick.
Yeah.
Super,
Again,
faster than the last time though.
Wash the hands, not the feet.
Go, do. I think it's all right. Maybe another minute. What do you think?
One more minute.
One more. So 11, 12?
11, 12.
Okay, we'll go to 11, 12.
That's the time, 11, 12.
Okay, so why is the freezing time higher than 7 minutes? All the extra sugar in the product. As I said this morning, the Torani syrup is just loaded with sugar. So that higher sugar content, longer freezing time.
Am I on video?
Yes. And we don't pay residuals, I'm sorry.
Too late now.
Are you a member of SAG, the Actors Guild?
And it's going live too. 242 countries.
All right, we are almost approaching your time here. You gotta watch it. You said what, 11, 12? You got 10 seconds. Yep, that's normal. That's the ice cream expanding. So now what you're going to do is turn off that.
Watch the finger again. This goes right here and press it like that.
You're going to leave this running. So now you can open this and leave it open, and you're going to take your pan as it comes out, and you're going to do that with it.
Watch the finger again. Up.
Look at that. You just made chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream.
Beautiful.
And when the pan gets full, you'll close it and swap it to the other one. I'll swap you. Ready? No. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Steve, you can take over.
This is just good stuff. My first make of ice cream, guys. And don't be jealous. Your time will come soon.
But in order to make your second batch, you're going to need to buy a machine from me.
Oh, sure. That'll be a few days time.
Any additional questions? This is our last batch, and then we're going to go out and take a tour of the factories. Yes.
How much residual does it leave behind? Like, does every bit of
It's
ice
all
cream
out,
come
so you
out?
can hit
Yes,
the
it
red
does.
stop.
It's going to leave behind a couple of ounces covering up the door, but that's about
You
it.
did good, Mitchell.
So that's the whole design of the machine, is to push it all out.
About that, first one.
Yes.
Is it like slanted, the machine? Sorry. Is the
Yes, the barrel has a slight tilt to it, but the main amount of work is done by the design of our dashers. That it's pushing the ice cream. It's going in a like this from back to front, mixing it, and so when you're taking it out,
You can
it's
just leave it
pushing it
there,
all out the
and it'll
front
be-
because less and
Yep,
less
leave it
stuff
there.
is in there in the
Do you
barrel.
want to get your first cup?
Sanitizing, is it after you're done or before you start?
It's a very interesting question because I've run into some health
is your
inspectors who
very
really
first
don't know what they're talking about, and they want you to sanitize afterwards. Now, you asked me if this scenario makes any sense. Here we are making ice cream, and my health inspector says sanitize the machine when you're finished. The next time we're going to use this machine is going to be about December 15th. So doesn't it seem that between now and October and December 15th, there's a good chance some bacteria would grow in there? So why bother sanitizing at the end? You sanitize moments before you're going to make ice cream. And it's that simple. Where some health inspectors think that it makes a difference to sanitize at the end is beyond me. Because you're not going to use the machine again for 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, or in your case, maybe not for 2 or 3 days. But either way, you want to start with a sterile machine, a sanitized machine, so you do it just before you start.
But we would like to at least rinse it. Like if we are going to use it on December 15th.
We're gonna sanitize it. I'm going to, on December 15th, I'm going to take a bucket of water and put the sanitizer in it. And as long as I don't open that door and put my hands into the machine, it'll stay sanitized for as long as I make ice cream. So if I make ice cream for 10 hours straight, I don't have to re-sanitize. Only if I open up, and my hands are dirty. Even though I've washed them, and even if I've used Purell on them, technically there's still bacteria. So as long as I don't touch the insides of the machine is sanitized. We're gonna wash it all out, and as I said before, we're going to take out the dasher, put it on the table here, take it apart, and let the parts air dry. They don't want it left in the machine, and neither do we, because it's a moist environment and it could grow bacteria. So we're going to take the door off, we're going to take the dasher out, and just leave it on the table here. So we're 5 to 8 minutes, just like Jeff said. Yes?
When Jeff was making his ice cream, like a little buzzer went off. What was that all about?
He was hitting the overload warning that he was about to freeze up the machine. You have 30 seconds to get the product out, or at least turn off the refrigeration. It's just a warning because people tend to walk away from the machine, so we can't change human nature, so we put in a warning signal.
So when you say overload, like too much toppings in there or too much just everything product? Or just
The resistance on the drive motor had gotten up to a point where it was going to, at our request, shut the machine down. He had a ton of ingredients in there, a whole lot.
Excuse me, Steve?
Yeah.
Did I get it right? You can keep the machine as it is and sanitize it anytime you use it.
I have to wash the machine now. That's dairy in there. It's going to start smelling in 24 hours.
Okay.
We're going to take the machine apart and wash it, and then leave the parts out on the table.
So the portion of sanitizing is on
The next time.
next time.
Yeah, just before you start. If you were going into surgery, if you were a doctor and you were going into surgery, you wouldn't wash your hands today for a surgery you're going to do in 2 days. You're going to wash your hands just before you go into surgery. So same idea. We want to kill off bacteria just before we start making product. And the reason I use the Sterashine is I know I can sanitize it. If I'm in a remote location and I don't have sanitizer, I can use a cap, not a cup, but a cap full of Clorox bleach to a gallon of water. And that will do the exact same job as this. The only problem is you get health inspectors who go, "Oh my gosh, you're putting Clorox bleach in your machine." And me being a wise guy New Yorker, I said, "Well, what do you think I put in my swimming pool?" Yeah, that doesn't go over well either. So I just say, "Yes, sir, and here's my jar of Sterashine, and this is what I'm going to use." And they're happy, and they walk away, and then I get my Clorox.
Well, Mitchell, you did a fantastic job.
Thank you, ma'am.
You did. Very good.
I want to thank you all for allowing me to make my first ice cream. Thank you, my audience. Who's supporting me like that.
Okay, speeches we charge extra for.
Do you keep any logs of where this sanitizing and cleaning versus things that you make? Do you keep any logs? I guess in your operation of making ice cream?
It's not necessary.
Not necessary? Okay.
No.
Okay.
Every store has their own niche, what they work with, what works for them. We have our methods. We don't do a log. You don't have to, but if you find something that works better for you, so you know this is the last time you did do that, especially if you have a team, that would probably be something you should look into. Make up your own, though, but you don't have to.
I think it's confusing the issue because I keep saying you sanitize before you make the ice cream.
Right.
So keeping a log of, we did it on October 10th, it doesn't apply because you're not going to make it again until November 1st. The health department doesn't ask for logs. All they care about is proper sanitation techniques, and that's using the Sterashine and water and pour it in before you start making the product. The other thing I do is I keep, after I've pulled that sanitary water out, let's say, let me get a clean container. So this was my sanitary water with the Sterashine in it. I just took it out of the machine. I keep this by the side of the machine because anything that's going to come in contact with the ice cream, I can sanitize. I can say, okay, I just pulled this spatula out from under the shelf. It's been sitting there for a month. I can dip it in here. It's now perfectly sanitized the instant it hits the water. So now I can use that on my ice cream. So anything that you do like that is a great idea too, is you just have it off to the side, use it like that, and there you go.
You ever have any worst case scenario stories from past customers with these machines?
Oh yeah. Let me show you one.
We do.
We make something called the Rainbow Maker. That's the Rainbow Maker. We can take this divider and put it in here and divide this tub into 3 sections. So if I want to make a Spumoni ice cream of 3 different flavors, chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, I can fill up one side of the tub with vanilla, and then I'm going to make strawberry, and then I'm going to make chocolate, and when all 3 are in there, I pull that out. I sent one of these to a customer, and he says it came back all dented and damaged, and that he thought it was UPS's fault, but he wanted a new Rainbow Maker. This is heavy gauge stainless steel. So I said, tell you what, send it back, we'll examine it, and then we'll send you a new one. And he did, and it came back looking like that. And I said, now how on earth could UPS bend up this? I couldn't possibly bend that. How could they possibly do that? And why are they all bent in the same direction? Maybe he thought the Rainbow Maker went inside the machine with the other parts and just got there and the dasher twisted up. We sent him a new one because it gave me a great story to tell you. But yeah, that's about the biggest nightmare that we have heard, was bending up one of these.
But even that didn't. That damaged that piece, but it didn't break the machine. The machine was still.
Oh no, it is. I mean, this is tough stuff, but it's nothing compared to the machine.
Our dashers, I tell people, you can throw it off the Empire State Building. It's going to break the concrete before it breaks that. I'm not kidding.
It's true.
But yeah, instead of having a bat by the front door, have one of those.
Forgive me for observing. I noticed there's a ritual. Every time before you serve us ice cream, you take one back there.
Yes.
Is that
So
a ritual?
it is. So I just feed it to the, no, just kidding. Her name is Michaela. She is back there controlling all of this. So it's what we call the voice of God. So if you hear somebody come on here, it's Michaela. She is the one that records all of us and does our mics and tunes us up and down. And then it gets edited and put on YouTube. So I always take her a cup. Can't leave her out.
Michaela, can you say hello?
Hello.
See, she's really there.
Hello.
Nobody's ever seen her, and she never comes out. But she does draw a paycheck, and I'm told that she's in there.
Yes, she's in there.
She hasn't been replaced by AI yet. You're talking to a computer. So why don't I give you a tour of the factory? And
You can leave your stuff here because you'll come back. So we'll see you we have to do our finished goodbye.
Goodbye.
Well, it was good seeing you guys.
Yeah.
We'll see you again. And for those watching, we'll see you guys next time.
And thank you very much for coming.